racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going around the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
From Brazil, the Carbon Gaming GT3 ESeries has made its way over to the United Kingdom. And tonight we are going back-to-back 45-minute races at the circuits of Donington and Silverstone. Both have hosted Grand Prix, but Donington has never hosted a British Grand Prix, only the European Grand Prix. But it's GT3 machinery, obviously, for us tonight. And we are excited for the racing coming up ahead of us. Each race is going to have its own 10-minute qualifying session. So I think it's going to be more frantic than some of the longer race formats we've had earlier in this season. We'll definitely turn on some good racing. I'm David Haynes. Jay Kennedy is producing once again. And Cam Dance joins me once more. Cam, what are you looking forward to out of these two circuits?
Yeah, certainly. It's obviously two different circuits, so it makes it a really interesting night of racing because you're not going to have everybody doing all their laps on one circuit. Everybody's actually got to go from one kind of circuit like Donington, which is and all that sort of stuff, and then you go over to Interlagos, which is a bit more faster, a bit more flowing, a bit more overtaking opportunities. So it's really two kind of radically different tracks, and it's really going to mix things up, I reckon.
Taking a quick look at Donington Park here. A couple changes to its layout over the years, but there's still a few overtaking opportunities around here and a few challenging corners. The old hairpin is always tough. It doesn't look much on the map. Going downhill towards that corner, it looks like a challenge. The S's there, always a scene of maybe some accidents. One line and then big braking opportunity, potential overtakes at the Melbourne hairpin as well. Just over 4 kilometers, and qualifying, I think, is just getting underway right now, Cam. Look at that. It is going to be a premium to find some clean track out there. The track looks very, very grippy at 20 degrees Celsius.
Certainly, with it being very tight and also reasonably short track as well, it's going to make trying to get some clean air and qualifying quite a bit of a premium, and really going to be a tough task for those who don't get it done early on in the session. So it's really going to be all about getting your lap in as early as you possibly can to try and get a lap time in it, or a bank a lap in, at least, with the fact that you don't have too long in the session. So we'll see what happens here, and who can end up taking pole is Reese Cohen and everybody starting to put some laps in.
Yeah, just over 4 kilometers, as we mentioned, and that's the full Grand Prix layout. That's about the length of some other slightly shorter tracks like Mid-Ohio, for example, is pretty much about that length as well. Here's Job Stewart with the first time. Remember, he was utterly dominant in qualifying at Sebring. There's been some mishaps, not the least at Belle Isle. So we'll see what Job Stewart can do, adjusting from Donington, then later to Silverstone. Times are on the left-hand side of the screen right now, and there are only a handful of times that have yet stuck. This is a fast and furious 10-minute qualifying session, half the length of what we've had so far in this championship.
Yes, certainly, and it really puts the pressure on the drivers as well, with the fact that you don't have such a long session to get a lap, and you've literally got to go exit pit lane straight away and get that lap in as quickly as possible. Even if the tyres aren't up to temp or up to pressure as well, you've really just got to bang the lap out as well as you possibly can in that short span of time that you've got to get them up to temp, up to pressure, and use what you've got underneath you effectively.
Double hairpins to finish out the lap, riding on board with Daniel Yeaman. It says Daniel Yeatman. We can go whatever we feel like on that one, I think, but double hairpins to close out the lap. The Audi should be pretty reasonable for these hairpins. Kind of off camber in the last one. Tough to find where you're going to pick up the throttle, and tough for Aaron Smith right in front there, who was spun around. And he was also having some trouble picking up that throttle out the final corner. Plenty of grass around here, not much to speak of for paved runoff. That might be a bit different with the second race of the night, but here, Donington, a little bit old school.
Yeah, certainly. You don't have all that Astro turf or any of that sort of concrete runoff to use to your advantage. You literally go off and you can probably say hello to a barrier at some point because you're probably going to be met with one. So you've really got to be precise and really make sure that you're not dropping wheels into the dirt or running ever so slightly too deep or anything like that. You've really got to put it into a perfect lap effectively and make sure that you're hitting your marks and everything.
Precisely, so we're looking at Jeff Connell's BMW. He's just come up over the hill at Coppice, and that is another one of those places where you absolutely have to hit your marks because the apex is a little bit blind. You can turn in too late, leave time on the board, turn in too early, go across the grass, maybe even get a slowdown penalty, then through the chicane. Very committed there indeed. And these GT3 cars with a bit of grip, bit of downforce, it's not much of a braking and downshift before you throw it into that corner, but you, again, have to get that one precise as well. And one corner left for Jeff Connell, who's had 2 laps on the board so far. This is going to be his 3rd attempt at a timed lap. And is it going to be an improvement from a 127.7? The answer is yes, indeed it will. He jumps up to 4th by finding another half a second or so. But I'm hearing some crashes, some bumps, and some unhappy drivers out there. Some people are really struggling to find that clean track they so desperately need in these dying minutes.
Yes, certainly, and it is, again, one of those challenges about such a short session and also such a narrow and short track as well, with the fact that you don't really have that much space to work with in terms of getting a gap, and also doesn't help that there's a lot of cars on track as well, so it's even more of a premium to try and find some clean air at some point, even if you're backed up behind someone. It just helps to lift off ever so slightly, but then again, you could have someone come out of pit lane and ruin your lap, so it's really just a matter of trying to time it and a bit of luck at the same time.
Yeah, indeed, about 30 drivers out there. Dale Brader trying to duck his way between the bollards across the chicane. Easy place to invalidate your lap, easy place to get a slowdown penalty as well. So in qualifying, absolutely got to thread that needle perfectly. On the brakes for the Melbourne hairpin. Only space to run wide there, but it's not the fastest way to do it. Then again, off camber, track drops away just a bit as you want to turn into this final corner. How is he being held up here? Maybe a little bit, not how he would have wanted to have done that. But it's the same for everyone, as Kimi Raikkonen likes to say. There's 30 cars out there and only so much track.
Yes, certainly. It is the case around Donington, at least. Probably not going to be so much of an issue at somewhere like Interlagos, with it being a little bit more of a longer track and there's a little bit more room to work with. But it is one of those challenges about this series as we go to certain tracks such as this, where you don't really have all that room to work with, and you've just got to try and adapt the best you can to it.
Make sure you're looking very far up the road at what other drivers may be doing. Brad Hayes, no time. Might be a little bit of a surprise. Someone going slowly in front of him. He's going to hope doesn't get in his way. Hayes is going to have to dive down the inside a little bit at the hairpin. That is in super, super deep. You can still gather it up. And tough to focus when you've got to thread your way through traffic like that. Hayes will be hoping for a time, and he's not going to get one on this lap.
Yeah, unfortunately, not the way you want to be finishing the lap, at least at the final corner as well, which probably makes it that much more painful as well, but he'll have to go again. At least he's going to have some form of time on the board to try and get the lap in, but we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Of course, it's just a 45-minute race. Qualifying more important than it was for 58 laps of Interlagos a week ago, maybe more important than it was for 90 minutes of Sebring. Stuart Lucas, focus face going on there as he works his way through the back section of the circuit, and that is all 4 off, I would think. A bit too much speed in there for Stuart Lucas.
Yeah, certainly not quite what you want to be doing. But that again, it's one of those things about Donington is that you don't have that luxury of being able to run it slightly wider or anything like that, because you're going to end up having dirt or gravel or grass that you can touching, and then you're pretty much just going to get sucked out at that point. So you've really just got to, what's a pretty good example of why you can't really afford to overdrive the car in a sense at this sort of track when you've not really got that runoff area to work with.
Checkered flag is out on the session. Everyone on circuit is going to be able to finish their laps. For Stuart Lucas, though, that's probably not going to be helpful or any comfort. Let's see if anyone crossing the line right now is able to continue to improve. Of all the drivers with the time, Stuart Lucas is incredibly sort of third from the bottom at the moment, as Jack Anderson managed to get one clean lap on the board, only to go to 24th. So I think this half-time qualifying session really ramped the pressure up on a lot of people. What about Emerson Harvey? He's got all manner of clean space as the checkered flag is out for everyone else. Second on the grid right now, going for pole. Bit of a bump on the curb and on the grass on the way into the Melbourne hairpin. Converts that into a very late apex, picking up the power. Slight bop adjustment, I think, since last round. The BMW might have picked up another kilo or two. Haven't we all this year, though? On the exit, is that clean power down for Emerson Harvey? Is this going to be an improvement or a valid lap? It's going to be a valid lap, but it's not going to be an improvement. He misses out by 5/10 on improving, and misses out by about a second then on going to pole. Jeremy Clark improves to 5th. Looks like one of the best of our Ferrari runners who showed a bit of progress last week while you weren't here, Cam.
Yes, kind of interesting looking at the balance of performance that they've got for this round. I would have thought that the BMW would have got a little bit more weight than what the Ferrari would have, but nevertheless, the Emmons have decided on what is right and what is wrong, and we'll go through the grid now.
That we will. Job Stewart is on pole position once again. Carbon Gaming GT3 ESeries is going to be sharing the front row with Emerson Harvey. Then behind them will be Matt Lupino. Kobe Williams is actually the first Ferrari there in 4th place. Jeremy Clark for company in 5th. Jeff Connells in 6th. Tyler Howard in 7th. Reese Cohen in 8th. Jackson Rahana in 9th. And Hugo Allen in 10th. That will hopefully delight YouTube chat.
And we go over the page. Dale Breed and Aaron Shields, followed by Matt Dunphy and Daniel Yeaman. Sebastian Flock and Julian on row 8. Then you're gonna have Cam McDougall, followed by Dalton Ellery, Brady Carr, and Stephen Ellery rounding out the top 20.
Just 10 more cars on the grid, it looks like, and that's going to be Ben Blaise, Beric Linton, Stuart Lucas. We were looking at him. That is, I think, a couple seconds away from what he could have achieved if he found some clean track. Same's probably true for Jack Anderson there in 24th. Then the last driver with a qualifying time is Eden Watson in 25th. But we saw Brad Hayes was out there, William Yarwood was out there. Not sure about Trent Aquilina, but there's a few drivers who, it appears, along with Aaron Smith, were not able to put in a qualifying time in that frenetic session, but it doesn't matter. They'll still be able to join this beautiful grid. We look at the track conditions there. 18 in the air, pretty cool. 25 on track. Don't think tyre wear is going to be a huge issue in this 32-ish lap race. Splash of fuel might be required though, Cam.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens and whether people try to fuel save to the end, or whether they're going to have to come down to the lane and grab a bit of fuel. So it's one of those things about this race, and it's going to mix it up quite a bit, especially if those at the front can't save enough fuel with the fact that they're going to be in clean air and all that.
Yeah, so I think some strategy will play into this one. Rolling Start is ahead of us, as you can tell by the presence of the iRacing Porsche safety car. And we know from last week that it kind of seemed like the drivers were closer to 35 to 40 minutes on fuel. This is going to be approximately a 45-minute race. So the Trick Sim Sports of this world would definitely aim for a no-stop, but you wonder if some drivers might pit early and some might need a splash of fuel right at the end, like happened at Le Mans for a few teams.
Yes, certainly. It's one of the big questions in this race, with that strategy hanging over everyone's head as to what they're going to do strategy-wise. So they go full 100% from lap 1, 2, and then having to pit, or do they just back it off a little bit and try and save them as much fuel as they possibly can to get home? It's one of those big questions, but we'll have to wait and see. And there will be no doubt that some people will be working together as well to try and save a little bit of fuel as well.
Potentially quite a few teammates out there, as is evidenced by matching paint schemes and such. And what about those McLarens very deep in the field? We know they've got a big tank. Maybe that's the car to be in today. Pace car's about to pull in though, and from Donington Park, race 1 of the evening will shortly get underway. Job Stewart, Emerson Harvey box the field backwards. Job Stewart gets a great jump. Emerson Harvey does not, and they are 3 wide for second place. Harvey's going to have to defend the inside. He's being swarmed, and that's Jeff Connell trying to go around the outside. Lap 1, turn 1. Cold tyres for everyone right now. Is going to be very much a challenge. Turn 1 appears to have been clean, but down the bottom of the hill, this section of the circuit, can see some optimistic lunges that don't always stick. Stopped around. Jeremy Clark nose hard into the wall, and he's joined. He's not alone.
Yeah, few people getting caught out by the braking zone on the way down into the old hairpin, and that's a little bit of a parking lot with 3 BMWs joining Clark in a Ferrari as well. So unfortunately, a few people getting caught out by cold tyres, and it's not quite the way you want to be starting this race.
So here is a bit of a replay of our start. Looking at Jeremy Clark there with his lip clothing sponsor there. Down the hill, does he get some help, or does he do this to himself? He does it to himself, doesn't he? Cold rear tyres as he gets on the brakes. Around he goes. Matt Dunphy, though, looks like he may have been given some assistance there. Lap 1. Trent Aquilina also maybe having some problems. Cam McDougall in the runoff as well. Get back to live pictures now as racing continues. Emerson Harvey is at the lead of the race now. Job Stewart's dropped back into second. Lap 1 scored complete. The action continues though. That looks like Hugo Allen in the Mercedes, who was off on the grass, under fire now. But first and second also challenging one another. Your top about 12 cars are a breakaway.
Yeah, certainly a little bit of a breakaway going on for the top 2 positions at the moment. But then you go back to this battle for 3rd, 4th and 5th, and there's a big dive up the inside by Kobe Williams, but not quite able to do it. He's going to compromise his exit as well. He's going to leave himself open to an attack from Reese Cohen, who's looking around the outside before the inside for the next corner. He's going to be able to do it, and he's going to be followed on through by his teammate as well, Tyler Howard. So Williams off the road and is going to drop down 4 places.
Yeah, indeed, door was open and he just got shuffled out wide. That's going to cost him a couple positions here for Kobe Williams, going backwards at the moment off the start. Dale Breeder, Aaron Shields and Daniel Yeaman right in behind him. Emerson Harvey appears to have survived in the lead, and himself and Job Stewart are getting on with the job of leading. Rapino in 3rd. And then all of that shuffling back and forth beside there has allowed this to continue. Hugo Allen gives a tap there to Tyler Howard, who very clearly had a slowdown. We mentioned that was a possibility at Coppice and also through the chicane.
Yeah, chicane, one of the most prominent ones, and Stephen Ellery in the wars again at the hairpin. Unfortunately, not quite sure what's gone on there, but he's going to be dropping down the order as a result. Hugo Allen all over the back of Tyler Howard now. He's going to possibly make him move, but not quite going to be close enough to do it at the moment as he heads on down the hill now, just tucked up and behind Tyler Howard, and we'll see if he can get a nice run. Runs a little bit wide, although it doesn't hurt him too much, but BMW really pulling away on the exit there.
Yeah, tyres will be starting to warm up now. Sounds like the Ferrari and maybe the McLarens and such, a bit more of a handful than the BMW on cold tyres. We'll see how they wear, how we go into this race. Very early goings here. Kobe Williams looks like he wants to come back through the field after being shuffled out wide, putting the pressure on Hugo Allen. He's going to be very, very brave to try to outbrake someone in this short braking zone before that chicane though.
Certainly, with it being very short, it's very difficult to make a move, and you really want to more or less set yourself up for the exit of the chicane so you can get a move done at the hairpin as well. As that is a Mercedes of Stuart Lucas off the road and not in an ideal position.
No, that was Coppice coming up the hill, sort
Oh,
of
no, Joe-
right-hand turn, but Job Stewart battling for the lead around. Quite hard contact there as well. He's losing time. He might have damage. Emerson Harvey continues in the lead, but what did those two do to get into each other? Was it a Job Stewart mistake, or was there something nefarious at play? Cam, look at the replay here.
Replay is going to tell us all about what's happened here. I don't think there would have been contact between the two teammates, but we'll see what happens in the next few seconds as they come on into the final corner here. But you can just see Job Stewart runs slightly wide onto the grass, and as a result just loses the rear end, nose first into the wall, and he's going to drop down some positions outside the top 20 even, and yeah, that's not going to be too ideal for him.
No, you can see a lot of damage to that sad-looking BMW. The fights continue on, though, in the top 10. I'm looking at front of Hugo Allen. Dale Grader also, who was in the top 10, having an issue here. Tyler Howard's forcing his way through. He's been battling with Jackson Rohana, and now Hugo Allen's looking down the inside of the Melbourne hairpin. How's the Mercedes on the brakes? Really has to park it on the apex. Around the outside, there's good drive for Jackson Rohana in the Ferrari. It's going to give him the inside for the final corner. You've seen, you don't want to run out onto the grass on the outside of this corner, and Hugo Allen has to concede that one. Really helps Tyler Howard in the BMW break away from now a three-car battle. Ferrari, Mercedes, Ferrari.
Yeah, certainly. It's going to be a bit of a Ferrari sandwich here for that Mercedes, unfortunately. Well, got on the grass a little bit there as well on the exit, so it's going to leave himself open to the Ferrari behind a Kobe Williams, who looks up the inside. Bit of an ambitious move there, but manages to slot in behind. But he's got a nice, decent drive off the corner as Kobe Williams is now Hugo Allen looking to go around the outside. They're nearly three wide on the way out of the old hairpin, and Hugo Allen is going to get 2 for 1.
Yeah, bad drive from Rehana. He loses that position as Hugo Allen swoops around the outside. And sensible stuff from Kobe Williams, who realised when putting his nose down the left-hand side of the circuit 3 wide was going to cause an incident. And he will have to wait for another opportunity to make a move. Good stuff from Hugo Allen. Julian Church, or as he's apparently been rechristened, the Church of Julian in 13th place. That's a more modern Ferrari livery. It's a tribute, but he's deep into the chicane. He gets forced across, and that's also going to be a slowdown. He doesn't look happy with it, but he also doesn't look too disappointed.
Certainly a bit of an Iceman expression there, with neither a angry nor a happy reaction from Julian, and he's probably not going to be too happy though, regardless, with the fact that he's going to have to be serving that slowdown and has lost a few positions as a result. But nevertheless, we'll see what he can do as the race progresses. Still plenty of racing left as well, so he shouldn't have too many issues getting back those positions as we're on board with Jackson Rihanna here on the way down the hill, chasing down Kobe Williams as well, who's just in front of him, so he's not too far off.
Williams has gotten through then. Williams is, now that the tyres are warm, looking to make more attack. It's Rehana under pressure from Aaron Shields in the BMW. You can do that. Track goes left, and the next corner is a right-hander. And he has to force his way through. Oh, and he's not happy with that. That is a hip and a shoulder. The two exchanging a couple of panels there. Aaron Shields gets through. Wasn't the cleanest move I've ever seen, though. Take another look at it, I think. This is what it looked like from on board the pursuing BMW. Big wiggle from Rehana. And Shields, a lot of momentum. Looks to the left, then looks to the right. Throws it down the inside here. What do you make of it, Cam?
Yeah, that's a hard one. It looked like the move was well and truly on, and he had the position on the apex, but yeah, it's a little bit hard one to call with the fact that the angle it was, but yeah, not quite too ideal to be bumping and barging each other on the exit of the corner, but they've managed to both get away with it and carry on. So play on, I say, and they're still nearly going at it, as Rihanna giving him a little bit of a bump on the rear to tell him, hey, I'm still here.
Yeah, it's still battling. No doubt the Ferrari has its strength, so too the BMW. BMW carrying 25 kilograms of extra weight. started the season carrying a bit of weight, but it has continued to add to that. Tyler Howard's off the circuit beside them, and so is another Ferrari, Kobe Williams. I don't want to put 2 and 2 together and get 4 if that's not what happened. Both of those drivers are after the old hairpin off the circuit.
Yes, certainly, and the replay is going to show us exactly how that's all unfolded, and you just see he's running a bit deeper in contact, unfortunately, between himself and the Mercedes trailing behind, so he's going to be dropping it down the order a little bit, and not too ideal of a situation for Hugo Allen to be in, but nevertheless he's managed to get away with that, although whether race control will look at that and possibly add a penalty, it'll be yet to see.
I think all 3 of those drivers just came in a bit too hot into the old hairpin there. Hugo Allen too hot, Kobe Williams too hot, all of them too hot, but Kobe Williams carries on, will not be dissuaded from trying to grab 5th place. He's side by side with Hugo Allen. Kobe Williams is going to be around the outside here. Tough to do, but achievable. I think he's just going to try to keep his nose in that one, get some drive off the outside. Great battle between these two.
Yes, certainly, and Williams going to have the inside for the next corner, but he's going to be hung up to left to dry if he doesn't clear him, and he has. So he's going to hold on to now a top 5 position, but Allen's coming back at him here, and he might not quite be close enough, though, to get a move done. So Hugo Allen going to have to sit stationed for the time being in 6th place. He's very strong on the brakes, so he might be able to get a move done at some points, and he forces Kobe Williams to go defensive, but comes back across.
Don't see that many overtakes at Coppice unless the driver in front made a mistake out the preceding corner. Down the back straight towards the chicane, brings us towards the hairpins. How many moves in defense do you like from Kobe Williams? But it is difficult to get down the inside there. Behind them is also a queue forming. Aaron Shields, Jackson Rehana and Daniel Yeaman. Keep changing every driver's name on us every week to keep us on our toes. 5 cars in a line through the hairpin. Good mix of manufacturers as well. Rolling updates to balance of performance means it's not quite the BMW show it was at Sebring for round 1.
Yeah, certainly, and it is one of those things that makes it that much more interesting is those in the less powerful cars, I guess you could say, will have a chance at least being on the podium or a win, and Hugo Allen deciding to come into the lane. Probably going to be a penalty attached to that pit stop as Brady Carr is coming in as well and has missed his pit stall.
So he has a few penalties out there. I haven't made complete sense of all of them, and also potential some of these guys are thinking this is nuts, let's get a bit of fuel on board. Battling on circuit continues. Jackson Rehana is right in the thick of it, as it appears to have been all race long here. Continuing to keep up the fight with Aaron Shields, while Daniel Yeaman in the Audi, one of the big movers from 14th on the grid up into 8th, now trying to look for another 2 in front as well. Very mixed up qualifying, I think, deeper down the order is giving us some of this action.
Yeah, certainly. That 10-minute qualifying really has mixed the score up a little bit with the fact that there wasn't too much time for drivers to get their heads around it and set a nice, decent lap. So it's really mixed this field up and is really making it quite an interesting fight through the field for a number of drivers. But it also quite good to see that there is quite a few different manufacturers. I mean, you've got a BMW, Ferrari, and an Audi all in this little scrap here for the final spot inside the top 5 at the moment. So really is just all about making sure that you can try and outdrive the other driver, as Yeaman has decided to come into the lane and get some fuel, and so is Kobe Williams.
Yeah, I think those are bona fide strategy calls there. I can't see their car numbers under any race control investigations. About 11 seconds of fuel for Yeaman. So about 10 seconds of fuel for Brady Carr. So that might be around what we're looking, 10 or 11 seconds of fuel to get you to the end. Those guys are coming out and going to carry on. Hugo Allen gets checked up, driver in front of him, aiming for pit lane. There's Allen going to come out compared to some of those others. I think a bit further back.
Up behind Yeaman, so it's at least some form of indication, but he's about 7 seconds back from those he was around. So he's lost a little bit of time, I think, probably due to the fact that he had a penalty to serve. So he's not going to be in too ideal of a situation. But what is also not too ideal of a situation is the fact that the leaders are actually starting to come up on lap traffic now.
Yeah, it was always going to happen pretty quickly around a 4-kilometer lap, and also with the, I want to say, half a dozen cars, it seemed like, went bowling on lap 1. They were always going to lose a little bit of time, maybe have to make a stop and end up as traffic. Here we've got Matt Lupino in second, Jeff Connell in third. Lupino's up 1 spot from where he qualified. That's probably at the expense of Job Stewart. Jeff Connell, though, is charged through the field a little bit harder. Jackson Rayhana is going to follow the pit strategy calls of some of those he was racing with, including Kobe Williams. He goes Breda and Dalton Ellery for 8th and 9th, neither of which have made a pit stop yet.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see whether they decide to save a bit of fuel or whether they're going to have to come down onto the lane. It's not really obvious yet as to whether the fuel is going to make it or not, with the fact that you've had basically every single manufacturer come into the lane. So there's no real obvious signs yet as to whether the fuel tanks, well, there is enough fuel in the tanks to make it home with a bit of fuel. So we'll have to wait and see there. But Jeff Connell starting to pressure the back of Matt Lupino here quite largely, so we'll see whether he can make a move at some point. Lupino getting slightly better drive off the hairpin though.
Yeah, I'm still seeing numbers around 11, 12, 13 seconds of fuel for everyone who has made a pit stop. If I was seeing those as being 4 or 5 seconds of fuel, you know someone would go for the no-stop strategy, but it looks like the fuel drop's just a little too much to consider that. But your top 3, Harvey, Lupino, and Connell at the moment, carrying on, still continuing. And Harvey with just 2 seconds of lead, as you can see, as they battle for 2nd and 3rd behind. So still absolutely in it. That's within the margin of, hitting your box cleanly or, missing out. Joe Stewart is now on the lane. Surprised he wasn't in earlier, knowing that he's going to be able to get a bit of damage fixed. Ben Blaise doing the mowing.
Yeah, I'm quite surprised that Job Stewart has decided to come down onto the lane this late, with the fact that he did have that heavy front end damage. But going to get a replay of Ben Blaise doing a little bit of lawn mowing. Was in a fight with Kobe Williams on the way into the hairpin. Williams trying to move over, but no gap there. He does the over and under though, so he's managed to get it, and then a little bit of contact on the exit as well between himself and Blaise having to end up on the grass and get slowed up a little bit.
Yeah, Kobe Williams, of course, already made his pit stop. Was trying to cut through some of the cars that hadn't yet because of the pursuing drivers behind. Here's Daniel Yeaman trying to close yet more ground. Right behind them, some others like Jackson Rayhana, who could absolutely get in the picture. So Williams couldn't afford to lose too much time behind Ben Blaise, and the same is absolutely true of Yeaman, who's cleared him quickly. Now Rayhana and Hugo Allen, who are going to have to line up to do the same work.
Most definitely. It's going to be a bit of hard work for them, unfortunately, but it is something that they're going to have to keep on just carrying, just do what they can with and see where they end up at the end. Is Stephen Ellery coming under pressure from Jackson Rihanna, actually lets him on by, so position gained for Rihanna there reasonably easily, and he'll be on the charge now for the next few cars ahead of him.
So the state of play right now, top 9 have not pitted. Kobe Williams in 10th, the first driver who has taken a fuel stop. So he's maybe trying to undercut some of the other drivers in the top 10, but he's not got the pace of Harvey, Lupino, Connell, and Reese Cohen out front. But of all the drivers who have taken service, Kobe Williams is the first, then Daniel Yeaman second, and Rayhana third. Keep an eye on their progress and when some other drivers take pit service. Reese Cohen's been quick on the last lap, and he's starting to catch 2nd and 3rd here. Brad Hayes, bit hot into the hairpin, and they successfully sidestep their way around him.
Yeah, very lucky for a bigger incident not to occur there, but nevertheless they've managed to get on through. And Jeff Connell still continuing to pressure the back of Matt Lupino, but just doesn't quite seem to have the advantage that he needs to be able to get that little bit more closer and be able to get a move done. Possibly also conserving as well just keeping those tyres in check for the moment. So might just be playing the long game at the moment. So have to see what happens here. But Jackson Rihanna getting a really good run on it. Ben Blaisdon is going to fire it up the inside at the Melbourne. Hairpin Hugo as well going to do it just behind him in the Mercedes. So going to be a position gained there for Hugo Allen as well.
Yeah, Hugo Allen battling with Dalton Ellery here. Allen having made a pit stop. Ellery, the younger, yet to do so. But I think he's going to change that. You could tell from the narrow exit from the hairpin looking for pit entry. Jeff Connell, good head of steam right here. And your whole top four were in the picture together there. Harvey out front, sort of in the, what are we going to call it? Copper, gold, orange. And then here is second and third battling.
Yeah, there's quite a standout livery, that copper gold. This livery actually does look quite good with the metallic as well, so it's not one you're going to miss easily, that's for sure.
Goes Job Stewart having yet more issues, it seems. Whoa, that is... Looks like he's missed the barriers this time, but again, showing how easy it is to push just a little bit wide, end up on the grass, loop it around. This is turn one. Apex always needed there. You can see where everyone digs up the dirt, and Job Stewart is another customer for that.
Yeah, very, very easy to do, especially at turn one when you're trying to get on the throttle as easily as you can, well, early as you can, and is unfortunately gone, been a little bit too eager, and has clipped the dirt, and as a result decided to go building sandcastles in the sand on the exit of turn one. So unfortunately going to be losing more time and positions as Job Stewart, but nevertheless, he's going to continue on his way. And Man Lapino has been still doing okay to hold off the charge from Jeff Connell, who just can't quite seem to do it. But Reese Cohen's actually not too far behind. So this might end up being a 3-car battle for second and third if they aren't careful.
Yeah, look, Cohen was a little bit closer, and Lapino and Connell have picked up the pace into the 1:27 now, maybe as they've burned off the fuel, running light. That's favouring them. So they've just dropped Cohen a little bit, but you know that as long as you're within a second, 2 seconds, and a good pit stop will always be able to jump you that kind of margin. So we wonder when they might pit. Oh, not a lot of grip there for either of Lapino or Connell. Now Cohen's back in the picture. Both of them got too hot into the final hairpin. I think it was oversteer for Lapino and maybe just pushing wide understeer for Connell.
It did look like it was that way, so maybe just starting to deal with a bit of tyre wear or possibly some overheating tyres, possibly from pushing so hard, but nevertheless, it's just a matter of waiting at this point and seeing what's going to happen between these three and whether Lapino's going to crack under pressure, or whether Cohen's going to have a sudden urge of pace, or even Cohen's going to have a surge of pace as well. So really it's just going to be a waiting game between those three as to whether they're going to be able to do anything with that battle.
So we're going to look at Jackson Raihana. Goes for a bit of a spin, maybe gets a little bit of a tap from Brady Carr there on the way. Raihana, who was right up there, whoa, gets sent on and then sort of gets distracted and spins it around in the Ferrari.
He's actually very lucky not to get clipped by Brady Carr as well, so very, very lucky there is Rihanna. And Tyler Howard's gone around as well at the same corner.
Yeah, from 5th or 6th place there, you can see immediately he's gone and lost the spot to Dale Breda. So what has happened? For Tyler Howard here. Not a car in front, not a car behind. He's been pushing on, trying to catch his teammate of Aaron Shields, I think. Bit of grass on the inside, bit of dirt on the outside. Round she goes, and oh, that was actually quite heavy contact, wasn't it?
Yeah, it actually was, and didn't think it was going to be, but he's actually hit it quite hard, and it's looking like it's not a straight car either, with the fact that he's struggling to get that thing turned and keeping it straight as well. So he's unfortunately going to be dropping down the order, and Rihanna is in pit lane as well as McDougall for some odd reason as well.
Well, Cam McDougall had a penalty, but he's not stopped in his box, so I don't know quite what would have happened there. Tyler Howard's found his way to pit lane despite the best attempts of that car to, well, not allow him to do so. Looking for his pit box. and he gets some repairs while he's going to take that fuel as well. So all is not lost for Tyler Howard, but he will have lost a bit of time at worst on that in lap. Emerson Harvey continues, Matt Lupino continues, Jeff Connell continues, but Lupino's within about, well, it was 1.6 seconds of the lead when that gap was 2 seconds and over 2 seconds for quite some time. Harvey's not getting away from the pursuing two.
You do possibly have to wonder if Harvey is saving a little bit of fuel at this point, because he's yet to pit, so possibly just trying to shorten up the stop time as much as he can. Even if it's just a little bit, he's going to be able to give himself that little bit of an advantage once the field is clean. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here, and whether he does start to lose any more time, or whether he starts to put the hammer back down and start to pull away from everyone.
Julian Andrews Church under pressure from Kobe Williams as Williams, the early stopper, continues to have to fight through cars that are yet to make the call onto pit lane. And that one was a lot easier than some of the other moves. We've seen Kobe Williams have to get his elbows out to force.
Yes, certainly did have to get them out and use them with forces. Hugo Allen looking up the inside of Ben Blaise as well. Pretty sure he got by earlier, although possibly not, might have been a different car. But nevertheless, he's back inside the top 10 as Hugo Allen, and he'll be charging it to try and hunt down the next car inside the top 10, which is Daniel Yeaman. And no,
there he goes around. More dramas for Job Stewart. No new tyres there, but he's just struggling to keep the rear end in check in the final corner. Told you the track drops away on the entry, can catch some drivers out. Job Stewart, you would have thought, was smarter than that. Dramas as well for Jack Anderson. So heats of lap 1, that's around from the old hairpin. Again, we've seen everyone struggling the moment they get one tyre in the grass. That old hairpin, one very, very easy place to push a little wide on the exit.
Yes, certainly, especially with the fact that it's downhill and you're always trying to maximise your exit speed as well through that corner. As we'll jump on board here with Jack Anderson with the Modem Simulation replay as he heads on down into the old hairpin and just goes straight ahead. That was really, really strange.
It was very wide on the way in, might not have slowed it down early enough, carried too much brake pedal, and the car didn't want to turn. And then he ended up on the grass, and it did want to turn. Matt Lupino, interesting, from second place. He's making an early pit call compared to everyone else in the top 5 or so. He has come out, I would say, comfortably ahead of Kobe Williams, the early pit stop. Doesn't appear to have worked for the challengers. 11 seconds of fuel, and is still 14 seconds ahead of Kobe Williams. So that looks good for Harvey, Connell, Cohen, and Shields.
It's actually quite interesting that they've come out that far here. Possibly traffic just holding up Williams and various other battles as well. So it will be interesting to see what happens when the top 4 pit and where they come out in relation to Lupino, and whether Lupino's actually going to be able to use that clean air to his advantage or not.
Riding on board with your leader, Emerson Harvey. That's not going for pit in. Past the halfway point of the race. 45 minutes and just 17 to go. So I wonder precisely how long everyone will go. Reese Cohen decides he's going to maybe cover off Matt Lupino here. Let's see, it was 11.5 seconds for Lupino, so maybe Cohen hopes he can have a faster stop. Rounding the final corner now. Reese Cohen still taking service. Service is done. He's going to get rolling, but Lupino is at full speed. And definitely going to come out and carry on ahead of that pitting car of Reese Cohen.
Yeah, certainly come out quite the distance behind Matt Lupino as well. Decent distance ahead of Kobe Williams in this battle going on as well, for just inside the top 10 as well. Rihanna trying to find a way on past that BMW just can't quite seem to do. He's going to set the exit up though at the old hairpin, and he's going to be able to get up alongside enough to get a move done at the following corner.
Certainly will. We know a lot of speed for Jackson Rehana, but he has made 2 trips onto pit lane. He's had some damage, he's had some spins. So when we go to Silverstone a bit later tonight, I think he's going to be hoping for a better race there because a week ago he also had a lot of speed at Interlagos. It's not sticking for him in this race. Brady Carr in the McLaren has pitted, and what a short pit stop it was for him, 10.8 seconds. So that shows big fuel tank for the McLaren, but not big enough that he's been able to no stop this race.
Yeah, certainly not quite able to no stop it, but he's at least taking less fuel, and that's a car going around in the background with contact with Jeff Connell.
Yep, Aaron Smith, 27th place, got a little bit of contact, a little bit of help. William Yarwood also with some problems, so there's some struggling BMWs out there. You wonder, was Connell brake checked? Was he impatient? Was he culpable in this? Everyone knows that flashing the headlights gives you right of way. So we'll have a look on this one. Huge difference in closing speeds. I think Connell was going for the inside. I think Aaron Smith was trying to stay off the racing line. Both of them made the decision at the same time. Consequently, Connell helped him around. Yarwood. Yep.
That's quite the ways off the circuit. Oh, and that's a heavy impact with the Armco too.
Right, there's a huge extra amount of grass there before you find the wall, and he's still gone out there, but it just goes to show absolutely no grip on this British grass. Yarwood is going to try to limp that one around to pit lane. Has he made a pit stop already this race? He has one, so he's going to need to make another, but your leader is on pit lane. Jeff Connell will continue to inherit the lead, but Harvey had about 2 seconds before this pit stop decision. Connell playing nicer with the traffic this time around. This needs to be a balls to the wall lap for Connell if he's going to try to overcut the leader.
Yeah, certainly does, and it looks like he's got some nice, decent clean air as well to have, well, to his advantage as well, that he's going to be able to use. So we'll see what happens as Emerson Harvey decides to finally come out of pit lane. He's just ahead of Matt Lupino as well, so not much of a gain by staying out any longer. Not too much of a gain from Matt Lupino as well, though he has cut that gap down to under a second, so Lupino has managed to make that earlier stop work.
Yeah, you remember the lead was round about 2 seconds, the gap between these two. 11.5 seconds of pit stop for Lupino, 13 second stop for Harvey. That would just about account for the gap now being half a second. Harvey, I don't think, has any worries with how much fuel is left. You remember some other races, he's maybe been on fumes right at the end. This time it looks like plenty, and he is still just ahead of Lupino.
Yeah, certainly is barely just ahead of Lupino, so we'll see if Harvey has enough fuel or whether he's decided to shortfill it a little bit to try and counter the gap that was there. But nevertheless, Connell decided to stay out another lap, so trying to make this overcut work as best as he possibly can, and to wait and see how long he stays out for. But he is going to start losing possibly more and more time as the laps go on, as Shields decides to come in now.
Yep, he does. Harvey is going to very clearly get that spot back. Same too for Lupino. Jeff Connell still going is an interesting move. And then only a handful of drivers yet to pit. They include Julian Andrews Church, High Priest of the Church of Julian. Hope we all get bucket hats. And then Eric Linton, it looks like the only other driver yet to pit, but that's about to change here. This is about as far as everyone appears to be able to go. Spotted his Lollipop Man. Dale Grader also hasn't pitted, so now it's just 3 drivers left who haven't pitted. Your timing column on the left, almost a factual telling of adjusted events now. Jeff Connell has 25 seconds, still needs to make a pit stop. I don't think he's going to be able to hold the lead, but I think he could be close, and I think he could still find himself on the podium.
Yeah, certainly could find himself on the podium, at least as he finally decides to come down onto the lane. Not too bad of an idea with the fact that he's got a little bit of traffic ahead of him. So Harvey just coming through the hairpin now. So this is, he might actually clear him here if he can manage to take enough fuel to counter that gap.
It was just a slightly long stop from Harvey. We know Connell's gone very long. And he's rolling now just 10.4 seconds, so a 3-second faster stop than Harvey for Connell, who went very, very long. He's rolling to the exit of pit lane. He puts the power down, and those guys have to be careful where they go. Lupino's going to dive down the inside to try to make sure he keeps Jeff Connell behind. There's a bit of contact between them. Connell, I'm sure, is going to be happy with that. Lupino had to go for the dive, though, if he was going to try to stay in contact with Emerson Harvey in the lead, and he's not. Here's the replay.
Yeah, certainly not ideal for Jeff Connell there to end up getting shoved out wide and onto the grass, unfortunately. Nearly came out ahead of Emerson Harvey and probably could have just held the position, but you can see Lupino throwing it up the inside, probably running a little bit deep as well on the brakes, unfortunately. So not too much Jeff Connell could have done there, but he's going to have to probably settle for third at this point.
You go, Matt Lupino's redressed the position, let Jeff Connell back through, but that's meant Reese Cohen is now very, very close. Emerson Harvey has a 5-second lead, and then about 1 second separates second, third, and fourth inside the final 10 minutes of race 1 tonight. Eric Linton, someone check his fuel cell after the race. He's the only driver out there yet to pit. He's gone minimum 1 lap longer than everyone else. He's not going to get to the end, though. Still 9 minutes, 7 laps to go. Get out and pedal, and I think he still wouldn't make it to the end.
Yeah, he's certainly going to be in full Flintstone spec very shortly if he's not careful. So it's probably going to be this time around that he's going to pit, if not next time by, with a little bit of fuel saving. But Hugo Allen all over the back of Daniel Yeaman now and fighting for 8th place as lap car gets out of the way. But Hugo Allen really putting the pressure on Yeaman here as he's actually got some decent pace at the moment.
Yeah, Director Jay Kennedy giving everyone a little bit of fan service. Daniel Yeaman trying to hold off Hugo Allen in the battle for 8th and 9th. With pit stop time, Allen is going to have no concerns on fuel whatsoever. He's going to be able to go full rich, full beans till the end. Daniel Yeaman, though, is supposed to have a wiggle on the dirt, the exit of turn 1. Yeaman, a bit of a shorter stop. Have to just be careful with the consumption. The old hairpin, Allen carefully keeping it between the white lines and on the grippy stuff. About that bonnet, though. Is that how you'd want it, Cam?
Looks a little bit like a mountain range, which is not probably what you want, as it's supposed to be nice and smooth, but he's making it do with it as Hugo Allen at the moment, driving around it as best as he possibly can. But it is actually quite surprising to see the Audi actually doing as well as it is against the Mercedes, which seems to be quite decent in a straight line. The Audi with much better drive off the corner, so it's going to use that to its advantage, especially around here where exits are quite important. So it's doing an all right job as Yeaman at the moment to do exactly what he needs to do and try and run away from Hugo Allen, especially on the exits of the corners. But we'll see what Hugo Allen can do, especially with those big dinner plates for brakes.
Certainly. With regards to aerodynamic damage, this is probably one of the circuits where it matters less than other places. There's longer straights at Silverstone where it starts to hurt you in 6th gear at the end of the straights. Around here, not a lot of long straights, not a lot of wide open throttle in 6th gear. You can probably nurse your way around a little bit of extra drag better here than you could at some other places. On the brakes, Hugo Allen closes up a lot, certainly. The Audi is holding its own, flowing well through the middle of the corners, even if it's not quite so bold in the stops.
Yes, certainly he's making it, well, doing well with that aero damage is Hugo Allen, and trying around it quite nicely as well to keep up with Yeaman at the moment. So we'll see if he can make a move in these last 6 or so minutes, or whether he's going to have to settle for 9th place. He's done actually quite a decent job to end up being in at 9th at the moment, just putting in some nice, clean, consistent laps as well. So exactly what he needs to do, but Ewan still doing exactly what he needs to do as he runs a little bit deep at the hairpin, and that's going to allow Hugo Allen to close back up ever so slightly and take advantage of that little bit of extra draft that he's going to be getting now.
it'll be helping him. And once he gets just that little bit closer, then puts the pressure on Daniel Yeaman. So far, it's been very smooth in the Audi, and that's been helping him. Once he's under pressure, maybe fluster him a little bit. Hugo Allen looks like he's driving on the ragged edge and a little bit beyond. Fast on the ragged edge, and even far smoother. That seems to be helping him out. At the lead of the race was 5 seconds. 2 laps in a row, Jeff Connell's taken out about 8 tenths, or maybe a little more. The gap's down from 5 seconds to 2.5 seconds to 2.4 seconds. And as I watch it, the number continues to shrink. 2.3, 2.2. What's going on for Emerson Harvey? Is there damage? Surely he's still got fuel.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit odd to see him run out of fuel or have to be fuel saving with the fact that he took more fuel than Jeff Connell. You'd think it'd be the other way around if there was a fuel issue. So not quite sure what's going on for Emerson Harvey here, but Jeff Connell is absolutely monstering that gap with only a handful of minutes to go here.
Sun is out in England, much to the surprise of all of the residents, and the track temperature has risen from 25 degrees Celsius to 28. It's been climbing over the length of this race. Everyone's pit stop was fuel only. Do you think it's possible Harvey might have just pushed those tyres too hard?
It's very possible, and the fact that this is quite a technical circuit and does use the tyres up quite a bit, it's very, very possible that he has maybe used them up a little bit too quickly, and as a result is paying the price for it, and the fact that that lead is quickly decreasing. But nevertheless, we'll have to keep an eye on it and see what happens to this gap by the end of the lap, and whether Connell is going to be able to make any more progress. He's not got too many laps left, but he is still continuing to close that gap down. 2.1 now from 2.5 at the start of the lap, so he's gaining a lot of time, is Jeff Connell.
Yep, I called it out this part of the lap a lap ago at 2.4 seconds. It's now underneath 2 seconds. Imagine it's possible, fixed setup equal across both cars, that maybe you push it too hard in the corners, you wear the front tyres down. Maybe you wear the rear tyres out if you're too aggressive in the traction zones. It is possible. The gap now 1.5 seconds. For whatever reason, Harvey is still struggling. 3 laps to go as they cross the line this time, if my sums are correctly added. That's what I meant to say.
Yes, certainly. It's at least hopefully your sums are a little bit better than your English, but nevertheless, it's running out of laps. It is Emerson Harvey, and Connell is down to 1.4 seconds now, so it's very, very close. And off the road is Jeff Connell, so it's going to hurt him a little bit, but clearly shows he's pushing very, very hard at the moment. He's lost about 0.3 of a second in that little mistake, so it's hurt him a little tiny bit, but not too much. So he's going to push on and try and close that gap down as much as he can in his last 3 laps or so.
Got to go all or nothing here if you're Jeff Connell. You're within 2 seconds of the lead. He's built out a bit of gap behind. Oh, he's been too aggressive with the corner. He's had to give up a handful of time. He cut the course. He had to slow down, give up the time gain, and then a little bit more, and that really, really puts damper on Jeff Connell's attempts to get to the lead. Brings Matt Lupino into the picture for second. Well, Jeff Connell did go all or nothing, and the roll of the dice didn't come up all sixes.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's going to have to settle for second here at this rate, unless Emerson Harvey has something drastic happen that'll cause him to lose 3 seconds in the space of 2 laps. But have to wait and see what happens, and whether Lupino can actually find a way on by Jeff Connell as well, who's shown some decent pace, but Lupino closer now than he has been in the last few laps at least.
Yeah, there'll be some battles or two still to come to the checkered flag of race 1 here. The other one that's catching my attention at the fringes of our top 10. Brady Carr, great job he's doing, keeping Job Stewart behind him. Carr is parking that McLaren here and there, using the great traction off the corners, going defensive to the Melbourne hairpin here. In the braking zone, I'd rather be in a BMW, but in a straight line and putting the power down, McLaren is not too shabby as they get so close. Joe Stewart's got to be careful or that McLaren will burn his eyebrows off.
Yes,
Around the outside they rub.
A little bit of contact for good measure, and still a little bit of contact as well between the two of them as he's all over the back of Brady Carr as Job Stewart. Brady Carr goes defensive, bit of hip and shoulder going on as well between the two of them. Job Stewart going to try and drive it around the outside at turn number 1. He's going to keep it even on the way down into turn number 2, and the old hairpin. He's not going to be on the right side of the road if Brady Carr can hold on, which he just about can, but Job Stewart going to drive it around the outside and take the position off him.
Clever stuff from Job Stewart. Huge defense from Brady Carr. In the end, his goose is a bit cooked on that one. Time is just about to expire, but Emerson Harvey has started one last lap. It also means a last lap here for Connell and Lupino. Would want to be just a little bit closer. He is entirely reliant on a mistake from Connell now.
Yeah, certainly, and it's really going to come down to that mistake, as you said, to have that position come into Matt Lupino's hands, and Mr. Harvey well and truly up the road at this stage, so he doesn't need to do anything silly, just needs to pretty much finish this one off and bring it on home.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got 2 braking zones left and a little bit of traffic for good measure as well. But Lupino with the tight line through what's almost a double apex corner at Coppice. Extreme is within a second of Jeff Connell, and Connell can be tricked into cutting the course a little bit. He's not going to do it at the chicane. Traffic for your leader, Emerson Harvey. Is he going to try to pass it, or is he just going to wait? Because the checkered flag is waiting for him after this corner. Emerson Harvey from the front row of the grid is going to win race 1 tonight in the Carbon Gaming GT3 E-Series ahead of Jeff Connell, and Matt Lupino completes the podium. Reese Cohen in 4th, and there's Kobe Williams in 5th. I think he can actually be pretty happy with getting 5th place out of that strategy. 6th is Aaron Shields, all on his lonesome, before you look for Dale Beretta back in 7th.
Yeah, solid result for Dale in the end, and Yeeman going to come home in a solid P8 as well. You go, Alan dropped off the back of him in the end there, which is quite interesting. So unfortunately going to have to settle for 9th place as he's going to come through the final corner with a little bit of a bump from behind, but he's going to be out of fuel actually, so that was the reason, but he's just going to manage to limp home across the line. Yeah,
he just is going to be able to do that. Cam McDougall, a lap down, is going to take the checkered flag. There's Brady Carr and Job Stewart taking the checkered flag. Nearly a bit of collision there on the slow down lap. Julian Andrews Church also getting that Ferrari 1000 GP livery to the end. That's race 1 of tonight. Drivers are going to have to load up their trailers and head down the motorway to Silverstone. But here's how they finished at Donington. Emerson Harvey taking the win and the points ahead of Jeff Connell in 2nd. Matt Lupino finishes the podium. Reese Cohen in 4th. Kobe Williams, 1st of the Ferraris, in 5th. Aaron Shields then in 6th, Dale Brader 7th, Daniel Yeeman in 8th, Hugo Allen 9th, Job Stewart finishes the top 10. Not what he would have wanted from pole position.
Yes, certainly wouldn't have. And over the page, Brady Carr comes home in 11th, just ahead of Julian Church, followed by Dalton Ellery and Matt Dunphy. Stephen Ellery rounding out the top 15. Then you've got Sebastian Flock, Beric Linton, Jackson Rihanna, Ben Blaise, and Cam McDougall rounding out the top 20. And
then laps down and retirements is Stuart Lucas in 21st, just 1 lap down. Brad Hayes, 2 laps down. Eden Watson, 3 laps down. Then we're looking at Aaron Smith, Trent Aquilina, William Yarwood, Tyler Howard, Jack Anderson, who didn't have the race they wanted. And then retirements out of Jeremy Clark and anyone else? Nope, just Jeremy Clark. Real quickly, I think we can indeed have a word with our winner of race 1, Emerson Harvey. Bit of a splash for the fuel needed there. A lot of pressure, but you soaked it all up at Donington.
Yeah, pretty good track there, and good racing there from everyone. So pretty good driving by everyone. It was pretty clean, not many crashes, but unfortunately, Job Stewart had a bit of a moment which left me by myself, unfortunately. But it is what it is. It's racing. Yeah, good race in general.
Even on the Grand Prix layout here, it's not a huge track at Donington. There was plenty of traffic around there. Did you give the headlight flashes a good work, and how was that?
Look, it was pretty stressful, not gonna lie. Just because it's such a skinny and such a short track, it seems to be pretty hectic when trying to let someone pass or trying to pass someone. So yeah, that definitely made it pretty interesting, which was not that great, but hey, it's racing, as I said, so not bad.
Well, congratulations and all of the possibility we might be speaking to you in not too long, because you've got to go load up and head down to Silverstone. What are your thoughts for there?
Pretty confident there. I love the track, because obviously it's a good, fun track, and I love it. Done a few races here in the past on the sim, which is good. So pretty fond of the track, and I like it very much. So yeah, pretty keen to get going here.
Well, congratulations. Going to give you the opportunity right now, in case we don't see you again, just thank who you want to thank before you head on over for race 2.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank the BPR boys and Dalton for putting all this on. It's pretty impressive, and Focus on Furniture for the support in my race here.
Beautiful. Race 1 winner Emerson Harvey. Bit of pressure on his shoulders maybe to try and back it up for the next race. Cam, quick look at the points standings here, and there certainly is some pressure on our drivers.
Yeah, there certainly is, especially for Emerson Harvey, and the fact that he's just won the first race of the night is definitely going to be helping that championship lead. And then you've got Matt Lapino and Jeff Connell, and that second place for Jeff Connell will certainly be helping him in the standings against Matt Lapino. So it's very, very close, though, from 5th on downward.
Indeed, interestingly, Job Stewart not in the top 10 there. We've seen him an absolute weapon in qualifying, a lot of one-lap pace, just hasn't been where he's wanted or needed to be when the points get paid. So what we're going to do is take a little break here on SimSpeed TV, but don't go anywhere, because very, very shortly we are going to be at Silverstone for race 2 of round 4, Carbon Gaming GT3 E-Series. 45 minutes once again. We take all of the action we've just witnessed, the same format, and take it to Silverstone.
Fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's got everything outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God. Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no. That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?
And we managed to reroute High Speed 2 to zip us from Donington to Silverstone in a right hurry, because we are getting ready for race 2, this British leg of Carbon Gaming GT3 E-Series. Once again, I'm David Haynes, Cam Dance with me, Jay Kennedy producing. And, well, we talked about the character of Donington, and how different is Silverstone? A lot of paved runoff, a lot wider curbs, a lot longer lap, also a bit wider. So how's that going to change the racing, Cam?
Well, it's Well, it's not quite the complete opposite, but it's quite a radical difference between the two tracks. Obviously, with the fact that you've got so much more room to work with and such a bigger track as well. So it's gonna be interesting to see what the racing's like. I expect it shouldn't be too much different, if anything, actually possibly better, with the fact that draft is going to play a little bit more of a factor in this race. But nevertheless, we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, just an hour down the road, if there's no traffic, which I'm led to believe in England there always is, south to Silverstone Circuit. That is not the layout we are racing on tonight. You saw our drivers on the full Grand Prix circuit. So disregard the length, but we are assuredly at Silverstone. So it'll be a lower lap number. Qualifying is going to be, I think, quite a bit tougher as well. We're already halfway through the session now, 4 minutes 30 to go. You got to get a clean lap. You're only going to get a couple.
Yeah, certainly. With it being so much longer of a lap, there's probably going to be drivers who are going to only get 1 or 2 laps, if that. So it's really going to be important to at least get 1 lap on the board to make sure that you don't end up starting down the back if you end up not having too high of an I rating as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here and what sort of difference in lap times we're going to see. Is currently it's about 3/10 between Kobe Williams and Matt Lupino at the top of the timesheets. Job Stewart yet to set a lap time, but is on a flying lap at the moment. So we'll see what he can do, whether he can put it on pole for this race as well.
What about the uncharacteristically powerful British sun? Not far away at Donington, the track temperature is 28 degrees. Here now, for qualifying at Silverstone, 44. Maybe it's newer tarmac, it's a darker color, it's absorbing more of the sun, but my goodness, that is quite a hot track, I would think.
Yeah, it's certainly, you wouldn't quite be able to cook some eggs on it, but you could definitely at least attempt to. So it's not exactly cool by any means, but it's certainly going to spice this race up that much more, and it's also going to really play havoc with tyre wear as well, and really going to be making it important to save them as best as you possibly can. So we'll have to wait and see what happens and who's going to be the best at looking after their rubber.
Job Stewart, no time yet, but he's coming through the final sector of the lap, and then when he's done, maybe we'll pick someone to ride on board with for a lap at the end here. Job Stewart to the timing line. What is that going to be for him? Nothing. Plenty of places around here to find an off-track, even more so than Donington. Here's Jackson Rehana, star of the show at Donington, tipping it into turn 1. Let's take a bit of a downshift there to try to set himself up to go left again, and then first of the hard stops on the lap. We might see a bit of passing here as he has to flick it in to the right. Open up the left-hander here, and then onto the Wellington straight. But you can see struggling for traction at the rear of the Ferrari seems to be a common theme when the tyres are a little cold, maybe even when the track is hot as well. So down the Wellington straight he goes, then looking to rejoin the old part of the Grand Prix circuit, late apex here. And long right-hander, has to get it down to first gear to make it rotate, up the throttle, not too wide on the exit there. So far this is all looking legal within track limits, even that bit there where you can shortcut a little bit across the classic pits and the old start finish line, then into Cops. Committed as you dare be, but if you push wide your lap is not going to be allowed. So that was as much speed as he dared to carry. Now to the most famous section of this circuit, I would think. Maggots, Beckett's, Chappell, distracted potentially by a driver off the circuit who hopefully will stay there to let Rehana push the power down onto the hangar straight. Start the final sector of the lap. We're looking at lap times around about 2 minutes or so. As you can see, more times are coming in. Rehana's been pushed down to 10th. As he now fires it into the final sector of the lap. Another place where the runoff is paved and inviting, but you should not use it. Vale and Club to round out the lap cam.
Yes, certainly is. James Stewart has gone P2 at the moment. Still just a little bit off Jeff Connell, but Rohana comes across the line. Does not improve, or he does actually, to P10. So inside the top 10 now is Jackson. And interesting to see that James Stewart doesn't end up taking pole in this by the looks of it. So he's going to have to settle for second place. And Jeff Connell going to be on pole by the looks of it as the clock slowly ticks on down.
Yeah, so Connell with the best time, but he's in the pits right now and he's not going to be able to improve on that. Is there anyone out there who might be able to improve? As the checkered flag is waved now, every driver on a lap's going to be able to complete it. Ben Blaise is not going to get another opportunity. He crosses the line for 15th, 2 minute 5 second there. Behind him, I think, was Stephen Ellery. Beric Linton very wide out the final corner. As we know, there's somehow a big fuel tank in that car. Does not look like an improvement. What about Reese Cohen from 7th? Right now, rounding the final sector to complete his final lap of qualifying. And that is an improvement to 5th.
Yeah, nice, decent lap from Cohen to put himself inside the top 5, but Hugo Allen coming through the final chicane. Now we'll see what he can do. Currently sitting 15th, and he's going to put himself with this lap here. He comes across the line, and he does improve and puts himself into P7.
Yeah, that he does. Still a handful of drivers out there on the big lap of Silverstone who might be able to improve. They include Eden Watson, they include Job Stewart and others. Here comes Eden Watson. Currently, I would say very much a banker time of 2 minutes 8 seconds. And that is going to improve to 2 minutes 7.2. Job Stewart, though, fully committed on this lap, and it's enough to take pole. It's enough to take pole by 0.2 of a second. Job Stewart, for this round, looks like he's going to sweep pole position.
Yeah, a little bit. We thought it was safe for Jeff Connell, but not quite in the end. Dalton Ellery going to end up running wide at the end of the straight, unfortunately. So not going to be an improvement there, but nevertheless, it's looking like it's pretty close grid.
For the size of the lap, for how many flying laps the driver's got, I would agree with you on that one, Cam. Still a minute left. Dale Breed, as I'm now going to pronounce it correctly, has been practicing his pit entry. So has Brady Carr. So does not look like anyone will be able to improve, though. So this will be our grid for race 2 here at Silverstone. Job Stewart on pole, just ahead of Jeff Connell. Then the next row, Kobe Williams. A good qualifying time for 3rd, I would say. Emerson Harvey in 4th. Has work to do if he's going to go back-to-back. Reese Cohen then in 5th. Matt Lupino 6th. Hugo Allen in 7th. Dale Breed in 8th. Aaron Shields in 9th. And A. McLaren in 10th.
Then we go across the page, and you've got Jackson Rihanna and Sebastian Flock on row 6. Row 7, Matt Dunphy and Julian Church. Dalton Ellery, Ben Blaise, Beric Linton, Eden Watson, Stuart Lucas, and Aaron Smith rounding out the top 20.
Looks like just about everyone we had from race 1 has made the trip here to race 2. Daniel Yeaman, a 2 minute 23. Gets himself 21st place, and then a handful of drivers who weren't able to get themselves a time on the board. Those include Cam McDougall, Brad Hayes, Jack Anderson, William Yarwood, Trent Aquilina, and we saw a little bit of problems there for Stephen Ellery, who was going to start back of the grid for 45 minutes of Silverstone. Do believe that the fuel strategy should also be a copy-paste from round 1. Looked like going long worked at Donington with the traffic. What about the wide open spaces of this former airfield?
Yes, certainly it is a former airfield, so it's got a lot of room to work with, but a 43-degree track temp is really going to spice it up and make tyre wear really a big factor here today. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens and what sort of strategies people do. Might see some people taking tyres, although I don't think so, not with it being a 45-minute race. So we'll have to wait and see what happens regardless. But nevertheless, it's going to be an interesting race.
Yeah, for the additional time of taking tyres to be at all recoupable, You'd need a safety car, I imagine. We didn't see one at Donington. And if we didn't see one at Donington, I'm not sure we're going to see one here. So splash of fuel only, probably the likely strategy. As you can see, our 27 car grid starting to form up 2x2 behind the Porsche safety car once again. Don't have to do a full lap before we get racing. But what about this? Job Stewart, 10th in race 1. He's on the pole once again. Is he going to stay out of trouble?
Yeah, it's a question we can't quite answer just yet as to whether he's going to have a perfect race here or whether he's going to end up in the wars once again. So we'll have to wait and see. But if anything, it's probably a fair assumption that he'll at least try to make a perfect race out of this and not have too many troubles.
Seeing that your 5th place man, Reese Cohen, he's the empty spot you can see on the left behind the Ferrari. It's not taken the start, so what's the strategy there? Is there a problem for Reese Cohen? Are we going to see him in this race? That's interesting. Well, they're rolling. They only need to go through the final sector of Stowe, Vale, and Club. The safety car pulls in pretty early with these new pits, so there it goes. Job Stewart, how long is he going to hold the pack along with Jeff Connell on the front row as well? 45 minutes is about to get underway when Job Stewart puts the power down, which he hasn't done yet. He's still holding them, but now I think he's going, and we're green for 45 minutes at Silverstone, the Carbon Gaming GT3 E-Series. That's really spread out the pack. Kobe Williams is under fire early.
Yeah, certainly is under fire early from Emerson Harvey. He's looking up the inside, but Williams going to try and hold it around the outside. He's gone way off the road, so he's going to lose that position, if not 2 or 3, unfortunately. So not an ideal start there for Kobe Williams as he's going to continue to hold it on. And it looks like it's a pretty clean start, though, for the rest of the field.
Yeah, it's a good jump for Job Stewart, but the longer straights here mean slipstreaming is going to make it harder. Ferrari looks like such a tough car on lap 1, but Hugo Allen in the Mercedes from 7th on the grid. He's up a couple, and he is going to go into 5th. Dramas for Aaron Shields and some others as well. Whoa, that is a lot of damage for Aaron Shields.
Yeah, it's a sad looking at BMW, and Julian Church also around in the background. So not been a good start for a few of these drivers by the looks of it, unfortunately, especially that of Aaron Shields.
Some choice words might have been lip read there. Here comes Brady Carr, 10th on the grid, looking at 9th now, looking at 8th if he can get around Jackson Rehana, but there is pressure behind from Sebastian Flock and Matt Dunphy. And then further up the grid, here is 2nd, Emerson Harvey trying to stick it down the inside of Maggots on Jeff Connell, and that did not work at all. Harvey's going to try to get more speed off Chappell here. He's got the later apex for the hangar straight, and I imagine that's probably about where you want to be. These BMWs are going to slipstream off each other. This helps Job Stewart get away, defending the inside for Stowe. Jeff Connell is going to have to do, and Harvey switches back underneath him as Connell gets in too deep.
Yeah, very, very good move by Emerson Harvey to read the situation and dive straight back up the inside of Jeff Connell to take the position off him. So Harvey into 2nd place now ahead of Jeff Connell, and Matt Lapino not too far off the back of Jeff Connell as well. So if he's not careful, he might actually lose another position here. And Hugo Allen is actually right behind this little group as well.
Yeah, and you can see them scrapping away behind there as well. Brady Carr is always easy to spot. So you go side by side with Dale Breed into turn 1. That works for Carr. Does not work for Sebastian Flock, who also tried to join the party, but he was a little bit late receiving an invitation, I think. So he's still side by side going in towards the loop here. Here's a replay cam.
That didn't quite work, but again, get a replay of what's happened to Aaron Shields on the first lap. As you can see, Nealon runs into the back of Hugo Allen as well, and then coming through on to the opposite side of the circuit. Actually clipped the inside grass, and then unfortunately just couldn't stop the car and straight into the barrier. Julian Church also kind of doing the same thing, although clipping it on the exit. So very lucky to get away with that one was Julian, but not so lucky for Aaron Shields.
Back live, Job Stewart 1.2 seconds lead, and then it's a battlefield behind that I think the higher speed nature of this circuit means a little bit more slipstreaming, means the pack is just a little bit closer, the racing just a little bit more hotly contested. Brady Carr, how's the McLaren doing for him here? Probably this is a better track for a McLaren than Donington, so maybe we'll make something of this one. Looks like a decent exit onto the Hangar Straight. Dale Breed still trying to stay with him, and they're all in a line down towards Stoke.
Yeah, certainly. McLaren probably has an advantage here with the fact that it's a bit more of a straight line track, so it's able to stretch its legs a little bit more, but you can see Dale Breed all over the back of Brady Carr and that McLaren at the moment. He's looking up the inside, but not going to be able to get a move done.
No, not close enough to quite make that move. Fastest lap of the race goes to Emerson Harvey. He's 2/10 faster than Job Stewart. He really desperately wants to get that gap underneath 1 second so he can pick up the slipstream. That's Emerson Harvey's best hope right now of going back to back. So top 3, top 4 work their way through Village, the Loop, and then Aintree.
Yes, certainly. And Emerson Harvey continuing to just hold station by the looks of it as well. So he's not losing any time, but not really gaining any either with the way that gap is currently fluctuating. So have to wait and see what happens as to whether he's going to just be a little bit conservative early on here to save some tyre, or whether he's going to push on in a few laps time to try and see if he can find a way on by his teammate of Job Stewart. But Jeff Connell starting to drop away from him as well, so starting to pull away from the BMW behind.
Well, it's underneath a second, only just, but it was briefly underneath a second. Unlike qualifying in the race, I think quite a few of these drivers are using a little more of the runoff. Less afraid of putting their tyres outside of the white lines. That is dear with the track limits for our leading two, but they've got to give it everything. They cannot afford to leave a 10th on the table, either for the leader or his pursuer.
Yeah, certainly can, and especially with the fact that he had a bad race in race 1 as well, so he needs to try and recover as many points as he possibly can in race 2, and he's currently doing exactly that as Brady Carr is still coming under pressure. Again, Dale Braid has actually managed to get on by as well, so he's lost the position to Dale there, and he's coming under fire as well from Sebastian Flock just behind.
So he is 9th and 10th. Flock, another one of those drivers who had a really tough time at Donington, looking for redemption. That's a great mix of manufacturers, Ferrari, BMW, McLaren, Ferrari, as they all work their way through turns 1 and 2. Some contacts further back, and Aaron Shields might have seen his pit window open. Now he's coming in for repairs and a bit of fuel. Yarwood off the circuit. That looks like it could be Ben Blaze, but I'm not sure. And that's not Jay's best camera, but if we're staring straight at the pit building, we know we're looking at someone coming onto pit road, and that is Julian Andrews Church. Early pit stop as well. So the dented and the damaged and the bruised coming in early for their pit stop. Well, it seems like the leaders are going to follow the strategy that worked at Donington. And imagine we're going to see them maybe only in the last 15 minutes of this race.
Yeah, I imagine there's going to be possibly a bit more strategy actually with the leaders, maybe just because of the hot track, and they want to be trying to get a little bit of temp out of those tires if they're starting to overheat a bit much. So we'll have to wait and see what they do. But like I said, it will probably just end up being go as far as you possibly can before filling that tank up with some giggle juice, as they say. So we'll have to see what happens. But nevertheless, good to see some people mixing it up with a bit of an undercut, and we'll have to wait and see whether that pays off or not.
Still tantalizingly close for the lead. That's 0.8 of a second. But back here, Breed has just made a good move earlier on the lap on Jackson Rehana, and now trying to pull away, trying to get clear of this big train we've got at 7th place. Rehana now maybe starting to come under pressure from Carr. Carr likewise under pressure from Sebastian Flock behind. My goodness, was Rehana really good on the brakes into the slow corner there. There's only a couple I can only think of about 2 places you're breaking into a truly slow corner here. The Ferrari looked good.
Yeah, it certainly does look quite strong here at Silverstone with the ability to carry that mid-corner speed it quite nicely. He's looking not quite going to be able to make a move at this stage, is Jackson Rihanna, but he's very, very close and probably going to put one on very, very shortly. As you
Dalton
see in the
Ellery.
background, Dalton Ellery making a move as well.
Yep. That move can work with the element of surprise. The inside of the loop does not look like Sebastian Flock was quite anticipating it. Dalton Ellery catches him unawares, grabs himself another spot, and then is going to try to join the back of the train. Here's the replay. Here's a replay. Julian Andrews Church, remember he was pitting early and then he ramps it, but a bit... Well, there was a flip, there was an ollie, and then there was a grind, but he did not stick the landing, and he used Trent Aquilina as a ramp. And that is a lot of damage for both of those drivers. And I think the Church of Julian Andrews is losing its tax-exempt status.
Yeah, that's not gone to plan at all. And it would have been a perfect 10 if it weren't for the fact that he didn't quite land, well, didn't quite make the landing. So it's probably going to be a 5 from the judges there in terms of execution. But nevertheless, he's unfortunately going to have to retire from this one probably. But Jeff Connell's actually closed that gap up quite a bit to Emerson Harvey now, and he's really starting to put a bit of pressure on.
He has. There might have been just the tiniest of mistakes from Harvey on this lap. He's dropped back 3 or 4 tenths from the leader. And that's 3 or 4 tenths that Jeff Connell has then tried to go and swallow up, as Connell is the fastest car on the circuit now. So first, second, and third, all very equal. Just trading tenths here and there. That pit stop later in the race is going to end up absolutely critical. It's Eric Linton, Daniel Yeaman. Yeaman had a good race at Donington, but is that a circuit that then favoured the Audi? And this isn't. Who knows?
Obviously, with a bit more straights to compete with, the Audi's going to struggle a little bit, and same with no real sharp corners to use their drive off the corner. But nevertheless, Kobe Williams starting to pull away a little bit from
opposite of that. I think Williams has dropped back towards this pack. I think Williams was actually up the road battling with Lupino not long ago.
Yeah, you'd be right. Yeah.
It's definitely a slow lap last time for Kobe Williams. 2 minute 4.3, a second slower than those behind. Sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th, all together.
Yeah, they certainly are, and it's really just going to be a matter of making one mistake and you lose probably about 3, if not 5 positions out of it. So you can just see, Williams getting a bit of a slide on there through Matt Beckett's section on the way through, just using that inside curve a little bit too much and unsettling the car. So lucky to get away with that, and that's compromised the straight line speed onto the hangar straight as well. So Dale Braid is going to look to the inside, and the BMW going to outbrake him and gets the job done. Kobe Williams trying to get the cut back, and that's a turn.
A little bit of tap on the bumper. Brady Carr collects him and sends him for another 720, and Carr is looking for pit in. So is Kobe Williams, understandably. Be a bit of damage for both of those guys. That was, yeah, I mean, when you need a millimeter and you don't get a millimeter, that's what happens. 3 drivers also heading for pit in now, as Breed has a lot of damage on the rear suspension. So here is what happened. Breed looking to get past Kobe Williams. Goes down the inside. Does he park it? What happens?
Yes, he was trying to get the over and under, but probably didn't quite expect the BMW to end up checking up how it did. And Dalton Ellery managing to swerve his way on through it, somehow threading the needle to come away with it unscathed and managing to gain several positions in the process. So barely made it through that, did Ellery, but very, very good job to end it heads up driving to avoid it all.
Now that's talent, but it's also in combination with a bit of luck as well. Here's Kobe Williams, will have taken on board fuel, will have taken some repairs. He rejoins the race. Same too for Brady Carr. Aaron Shields had to do similar even earlier in the race, and you can see how much time he lost to that. Yeeman on the lane. And here is Breed, who was delayed by more damage, also rejoining the race.
Yeah, so he's decided to come out of the lane now that he's got those repairs done. So we'll see what he can do from the rest of this race. And Jeff Collins managed to get on by Emerson Harvey as well. So he's up to second position and is going to be on the hunt for Job Stewart. And Hugo Allen up into fourth as well, not too far behind Emerson Harvey. So we'll see what he can do and whether he's going to be able to possibly get on by Emerson Harvey, as we've got a replay here of the move that's happened. And it's a slowdown on the way through, well, just after the old pit lane, and that's a little bit too wide, and as a result, it's going to be a slowdown.
Can happen at Chapel as well. I mean, we talked about how much speed you want to carry. Could it be there? Could be the exit of Chapel. There's a few places that you can be too eager and pick up a slowdown penalty. I want to suggest it was that second part of Maggot's corner there, where he took just a little bit too much, had to give up the time. Jeff Connell goes to second. And Job Stewart gets, am I going to call it a comfortable lead of 2.1 seconds?
Probably is at this point, but with 30 minutes left on the clock, it's debatable, especially considering the pace we've seen from Jeff Connell tonight. So we'll have to wait and see what happens and whether that gap does decrease or whether Stewart's going to be able to extend it further. So we'll have to wait and see. But a few more takers onto the lane as well. So people are starting to use that undercut strategy to their possible advantage, or at least trying to use it to their advantage. We'll wait and see whether they're going to be able to use it in a way that's going to advantage them. But nevertheless, you can see lap traffic already starting to play a little bit of havoc here with the leaders.
Yeah, I think it's Daniel Yeeman, potentially. So he's ended up further back than he would have wanted after the impressive somersaults that we witnessed. And I assume the car had to go on the tow hook. Julian Andrews-Church back in the race, but unfortunately in 25th with, gosh, calling it a lot of work to do would feel like underselling the issue there. A bit of a Ferrari battle, maybe. Sebastian Flock, is he getting closer to Jackson Rehana? Rehana's also managed to try to stick with Dalton Ellery here as well, so that works for those guys, I think.
Yeah, it certainly does work for them for the moment at least, and be interesting to see
on the lane.
The leaders are on the lane. So Job Stewart deciding to come in early, which is quite interesting, possibly deciding that there was a little bit too much traffic ahead of him. So yeah, very, very fascinating to see him come in so early while the rest of the field stays out.
Yeah, that is an interesting one that bucks the trend of the winning strategy from last race. So it's Jeff Connell to the lead. Emerson Harvey still going along with him. Hugo Allen matched their lap times last time as well. So you can see him in picture there, and then Lupino one Wellington straight behind. I'm using that as a unit of measure now.
It's an interesting unit of measure, I must admit, but it sounds very, very British.
Well, it's one that's very easy to judge with your eyes.
Very, very true. Very, very true. But you can see Connell actually starting to pull away a little bit from Emerson Harvey, and William Yarwood has found the barrier.
Yeah, found a couple of barriers at Donington as well, regrettably. It's a bit further journey to find them here at Silverstone, but we've seen drivers find it to be still achievable. Battle going on where Dalton Ellery, who maybe kept it pinned, threaded the gap to get himself up into 5th, but been able to pull away from his pursuing Ferraris.
He's actually not quite been able to pull away as much as I possibly would have thought he would have been able to, especially being in the BMW, which seems to have a nice amount of straight line pace. But Jackson Rihanna doing a pretty decent job in the Ferrari to hold his own to that BMW of Dalton Ellery, and you can just see BMW pulling away ever so slightly at the end of the straight, but the Ferrari manages to gain it back under brakes, and Dalton has run a bit wide there, and that's going to compromise a little bit as he decides to come into the lane, and same with Flock.
There you go. Early pit stops are very much in vogue here as Dalton Ellery and Sebastian Flock go for the pit lane. Jackson Rihanna continues. Job Stewart was your leader. Early stop for him, 13 seconds of fuel. Already worked his way up, and he's being helped by these other drivers also pitting maybe a little on the early side. Hugo Allen was the fastest driver last lap, so Mercedes holding on to the tyres well. Track temperature is still toasty, 43 degrees. Like you said, that's not quite hot enough to cook an egg, but we're getting close to an English breakfast.
You know, certainly as Kobe Williams has had a drive-through as well, so he's served that and has dropped down the order as a result. He's going to look up the inside of the BMW that he's trying to overtake, and he's managing to just do it, albeit with a little bit of curb involved as well. So down in P14 after that. Brad Hayes now coming under attack as well from Jack Anderson, and he's doing all right. That little bit of a bottle up effect sort of held him up a little bit with the fact that Williams was sending it up the inside, and that's a little bit much inside curve for Jack Anderson there, but Brad Hayes has run a bit deep, and that's going to allow Anderson to look up the inside at turn number 2, and he's managed to get it done.
Yeah, Hayes with no pit stop, and Jack Anderson with a pit stop. Kobe Williams having already served a drive-through. Took them a couple corners, took them some effort, but both of those managed to make a meal of Brad Hayes. This is the lead. Or is it? It's dependent on the speed that Job Stewart is doing, having already made his stop. But Harvey is right with Connell. And if these guys can do well through the traffic, look after their tyres on a lighter fuel load, overcutting Job Stewart, I think, is entirely possible for Connell and Harvey.
Yeah, very much is possible if they can have enough pace, but I'm going to have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, we do need to see a proper flying lap from Job Stewart, which we're going to see shortly before we know. But Jeff Connell did a 2-minute 2.5 on that lap. He was the fastest driver. But what about this lap for Job Stewart? 2-minute 2.4, so a tenth of a second faster. Job Stewart is doing just enough right now to not give away that advantage, not let Connell and Harvey overcut him.
He's certainly doing just enough at the moment, and it'll be interesting to see how these two work together and whether they actually start to fight as well, and whether possibly there's a little bit of teamwork from Emerson Harvey to possibly try and get on by and hold up Jeff Connell a little bit with a bit of gamesmanship. But nevertheless, these two still fighting tooth and nail, and Harvey's not too far off the back of him, so he should have a nice bit of draft on the way down the hanging straight that's come through the Maggots, Beckett's, and Chapel section. He looks up the inside a little bit ambitious, and that's going to compromise the exit.
Yeah, I'm not sure you're ever going to stick a move like that. Maybe he just didn't get the car to turn quite how he liked. He's getting very close to Jeff Connell. If he wanted to take the lead, that wasn't going to work. Yet a little more traffic in front of first and second, who might peel in. Nope, they don't. So a little flash of the headlights from Connell. Try to bring their attention. And oh, slow. They go offline. And I'm not quite sure if that butters Connell's biscuits how he wanted.
Probably not quite what he would have wanted at all, but he's managed to get away with it scotch-free for the time being, by the looks of it. So he's at least got a second to Emerson Harvey as well, so that'll be helping him ever so slightly as Dale Braid is on the attack on it. Jack Anderson going to look to the inside on the way into the old turn 1, and he's just about going to stick it on him, but Anderson going to be there on the left-hand side. He's going to have the inside for the first part of the Maggots Beckett section, and they're going to be side by side, and he lets Anderson on through.
Yeah, he gave up on that one. We've just crossed over halfway point in this race. Both of these drivers that we're looking at here have made their stops, so this is a proper and real battle. These guys are going to race it until the end like this. Right, Freed was close, but decided to give it up on that occasion because there's always another day, and here he is down the inside at Stowe. He seems to find some grip at the apex, seems to find some speed. It's enough to get him up into 15th.
Yes, it's small gains at this stage. Still plenty of racing left, so it's not too much of a worry to be only gaining one position and then still have a decent gap to the cars ahead. But he's doing everything he needs to at the moment, especially with the fact that he had that incident earlier on. So he's not doing too bad of a job to have a recovery at this stage. Hugo Allen currently sitting P3, not too far off the back of Emerson Harvey as well.
Slow down for Harvey on this lap, I think. Is that fair to say? He's 2.2 seconds off the lead now, right in the clutches of Hugo Allen. Well, that's all going to change as Harvey is going to go for pit lane. Remember, Connell was one of the drivers who went the longest at Donington.
Was that speeding into pit lane?
Was it just? Saw a couple flashes of the brake lights.
This is going to be very, very marginal as to whether he got a penalty there or not for speeding into the lane. And if he did, it's really, really going to hurt him. And he'll end up dropping well down the order with that speeding penalty as a result.
The stop goes longer than about 13 seconds for Harvey. We'll know that he was a bit too hot. Well, here's Rahana and Dunphy. And here is Job Stewart. But Emerson Harvey has been done for speeding on pit lane. And he's still sitting there. And I think that pours cold water on any chances of him going back-to-back this round.
Yeah, it certainly does, and it's going to hurt him in the championship as well with the fact that he's going to be losing a large amount of points that he could have possibly got if he ended up finishing second. And that also promotes Hugo Allen into a third onto the podium as well. So he's going to be having a pretty good night as Hugo Allen at this stage.
If he can keep the pace up, if he can keep the consistency up, he's definitely going to be in a good position. He's had a bit of clean air mostly where it goes right now. Emerson Harvey is still sitting there. 40 seconds hold for speeding on pit entry. 15 seconds of fuel and then 40 seconds just sitting there. Emerson Harvey rejoins, as you can see, 14th place.
Yeah, so he's dropped outside the top 10. Still inside the top 15 as well. And there's a few drivers yet to pit as well. So he might possibly be able to gain a position or two, but he's really going to be hurting in terms of the championship and how many points he's going to be gaining tonight, unfortunately. And Hugo Allen's starting to slowly close that gap down to Jeff Connell as well.
Mayhaps. But here it's 4th and 5th, where Dunphy's been closing down the gap to the Ferrari of Jackson Rehana. Neither of these drivers have pitted yet. As they go past pit entry, that statement remains true.
So it looks like these two probably going to be doing a sort of overcut strategy like what we saw at Donington, where everybody starts to, or comes into the pit lane later on in this race to take as little fuel as possible. But who knows, they might pit next time by. They might pit in 5 laps. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But doing a decent job at holding off Dunphy at the moment is Rehana, and we'll have to see if he can catch up to the car ahead as well in these next few laps.
How do those rear tyres look for Rehana, though, through turns 1 and 2? Abbey and then Village. It was all wobbling about. I wonder if he's starting to wear them down. Here comes Dunphy with a good run to Luffield. Brooklands, I should say, this is Luffield. It's not an overtake there, so maybe try and stay close, try to get a good exit out of Chapel. And we've seen the BMWs look good in a straight line, also look very good in a draft down the Hangar straight. Problems for Dalton Ellery. That's a bit of a spin, isn't it?
You know, it wasn't too ideal of a rejoin either for the car behind, who nearly ran into the back of him. We'll see what happened here. And he got a big tank slapper off onto the grass. Luckily, didn't make the barrier. Managed to correct it back the other way to stop him from hitting the barrier as well. So he hasn't lost too much out of it as a result. But that could have been far worse if he didn't quite manage to catch it early enough.
Certainly could have. It's dropped him back significantly. He's got Aaron Shields behind him, but Shields pitted very early and I don't think took enough fuel to get all the way to the end unless he does some massive saving. Here comes Hugo Allen, was second. Matt Lupino immediately behind follows him in as well. So now's a popular time on pit lane. 16 minutes to go. I think any driver who wasn't saving a little bit of fuel, we're probably going to see now. That includes Jackson Ray-Hanna as well. Matt Dunphy continues. Jeff Connell continues. But those sort of are the only drivers on a shortening list who haven't been down on pit lane yet. So what about Job Stewart? Is he going to swoop on by almost all of those drivers in pit lane? I think he might. Here he is going past pit entry up into third. So Connell and Dunphy, the only drivers who could stay in front of him. Hugo Allen just leaving pit lane now. That's quite a bit behind Stewart.
Yeah, it certainly is quite a ways behind, and Lupino just exiting pit lane as well. So not too far behind Hugo Allen. Possibly a little bit of a gain as well, maybe, but nevertheless, Jeff Connell still staying out in the lead as well as Matt Dunphy. So we'll have to see where Job Stewart comes out in all of this and whether he actually does manage to come out ahead of Jeff Connell or not.
Connell's best placed to try and retain the lead. But you remember, he was only about 2 seconds in front of... about 2-3 seconds in front of Hugo Allen. And Hugo Allen's now 10 seconds behind Job Stewart. So I think we'll see Connell somewhere in that gap between Stewart and Allen. Here's Emerson Harvey continuing to have an exciting day. They'll breed behind him. Ben Blaise to his door. And he is going to have the speed to get up into 13th as your leader, Jeff Connell, comes onto the lane for an incredibly important pit stop.
Yes, certainly. It's really going to mix it up when that pit stop happens. Full flies on I as he's starting to slowly claw that gap down. Although possibly looks like he might have lost a little bit of time in that middle sector there as well, and still continuing to lose a tiny bit of time as well to Jeff Connell. So we need to up the pace a little bit, but is slowly gaining on Matt Dunphy.
It is all looking pretty good for Job Stewart as he turns onto the pit straight. Jeff Connell is still stopped in his box. Jeff Connell is still stopped in his box. This is a very, very long stop for Jeff Connell. We expect to see 12 or 13 seconds of fuel. This has gone on for 25 seconds now. Has he also been stung for speeding on pit road? Ouch.
Yeah, that pit lane entry cone is that pit entry is very, very inviting to carry a lot of speed in, but that cone comes up very, very quickly. So unfortunately, the laser catches another driver out, unfortunately, and he'll have to serve a penalty. Will Jeff Connell and drop down the order, probably just in front of Emerson Harvey, I'd say. And yep, that's going to be a penalty as he just comes out of the pit lane now in position 8, just behind Dalton Ellery, actually. So into P9, Aaron Shields comes into the lane, and Kobe Williams coming through turn 1 now to get back inside that top 10.
Kobe Williams.
Albeit on the grass.
No. Good for Kobe Williams.
No.
And he does find the wall where Dalton Ellery didn't. Kobe Williams, Eurobeat moment, sees him pick up a handful of damage. He's been down pit lane twice, and we might have to do it again because there is quite a bit of damage on that car. He's already lost positions as Harvey has gone through, as Linton, Blaise, Freed have gone through. Here it is for Kobe Williams. It was wide through turn 1, and then on the grass, he enters frame sideways. Maybe should have tried to use more of the paved runoff instead of skidding through the narrow patch of grass. No good for Kobe Williams.
Yeah, it's almost as though he should have just continued spinning the car as he came back across the road. So unfortunately, he's had to end up in the barrier as a result. That car is very, very second-hand with how bad it is crabbing. Matt Dunphy finally comes down onto the lane, and Job Stewart will resume the race lead as a result. So very nice, handy lead that Job Stewart is going to have now.
Very comfortable indeed. It looks like the graphics will update, but seems Hugo Allen will be second place, 8 seconds behind Job Stewart. Matt Lupino is looking good for third. And the amount of time that then he has in hand over Jackson Raihana, another 15 seconds. Field spread far more significant, it seems, here at Silverstone than it was at Donington. Doesn't mean there's no battles deeper in the field, though. Dalton Ellery is in very, very deep. Back underneath onto the pit straight. Can you overtake into turn one here? It's not a heavy braking zone. Jeff Connell might have enough speed that it doesn't matter. He's looking for the inside. He's down the inside. He's going to try to force Dalton Ellery to yield. And Ellery will have to. He ran a little bit wide. Now Connell covering off the inside for the heavy braking zone here. Connell in 8th, parking it in front of Ellery in 9th.
Yeah, not a bad move by Jeff Connell, and Matt Lupino into third, currently hunting down Hugo Allen. Matt Dunphy's come out just behind Sebastian Flock in P6, so not too bad of a run for those two at the moment, but Dalton Ellery is still applying pressure to the back of Jeff Connell at the moment.
Yep, here we go. Also looking at Dale Breed, Ben Blaise. Two drivers who made their stops early. It's going a lot better for Blaise than it did in race 1. So there's quite a few drivers and cars with very different fortunes race 1 to race 2.
Yeah, certainly is quite the difference for a few drivers in the two races, with a few slip-ups by drivers getting penalties in pit lane, and then obviously a few incidents catching drivers out, unfortunately. And Brad Hayes now going to have Julian Church coming on by up the inside, nearly squeezed him, but not quite. And they come together. That's not gone well at all.
No, it has not. Hayes has maybe tried to come across to shut the door for turn 1. And that is a face of frustration. Julian Andrews Church. He's taking the gloves off. I think that's a near universal sign of I'm retiring the car. It's just, he's not happy. He's not happy, that's for sure. Very poor race for him. So now everyone has made a pit stop. We're in 9 minutes to go. Alpino is in third, and he's been closing Hugo Allen. Bad lap last time for Hugo Allen, 2 minute 5.7. He might have picked up a slowdown because he's lost 2.5 seconds just in one lap. Is there tire life for Lupino to come at him?
Yeah, possibly it could be, and if Hugo Allen keeps getting on side or keeps getting side downs, that'll happen very, very quickly as well. Will Lupino close to the back and get on by? So Hugo Allen just really needs to, at this stage, just put some nice, clean, consistent laps, and then he'll have a very, very solid result on the way.
Another battle shaping up is Flock and Dunphy, both of whom are using very similar hues from the palette on their cars. Dunphy, of course, only pitted very recently. He's coming to grips with the heavy fuel tank and coming to grips with how he's going to close down Sebastian Flock for a top 5.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether Dunphy can hunt him down and get a top 5 off Sebastian Flock, or whether he's going to have to settle for P6. He's had some decent pace as Matt Dunphy, so it would be possible, I'd say, for him to grab that top 5 back as Kobe Williams comes down onto the lane after finally having... Does he come down again after getting damage?
4th pit stop for Kobe Williams. They are going to be rubbing their eyes and seeing double on pit road. Has he got a box down the end here, or is this another drive through for Kobe Williams? He's trying to find his pit crew, I think. Also, a little bit of a lockup here from Flock, still makes the apex, so the pressure is on him. Matt Dunphy taking a little bit of time out of him here.
Yeah, certainly starting to take some time out of that gap as Matt Dunphy to Sebastian Flock in that BMW at the moment doing reasonably well as Dunphy, and he's going to slowly take that gap down, and he might actually start to do it a little bit quicker in these next few laps as the race gets to its closing stages and tyre wear starts to become a little bit more of a factor.
Yeah, talking about tyre wear, just behind them was Brady Carr, and there's a few of these cars that just through turns 1 and 2 really seem to hang the tail out. The Ferrari drivers are doing it, and I think Brady Carr in the McLaren also looking like he's driving that thing around, grabbing it by the scruff of the neck to make it turn. It's not looking quite as stable, but he's in 7th, up 3 positions from where he qualified, so he'd be happy with that. Gloves came off, but they might have come back on, though, for Julian Andrews Church. Church is back in session.
Would it be as though, by the looks of it, minus the gloves? So
Minus the gloves. Maybe the gloves were unlucky.
it's very possible.
Who knows, but it's not going to be a good result for him down in 21st place. Who's off the circuit there with 4th and 5th? Kobe Williams. My goodness. Not going to be a 5th pit stop for him, I wouldn't hope, but the battle continues between 5th and 6th. That might have spooked Dunphy just a little bit. There's no contact. Williams is going to try to come back at him here, almost, it looks like. He's allowed to unlap himself, but I think he just breezed out of the throttle a little bit. 5 minutes to go. Says 3 laps to go. Joe Stewart's just crossed the line. Kobe Williams actually looks like he's going for a look here, and I don't think this is helping Matt Dunphy.
Yeah, it certainly is, and as Williams will be a lap down to Dunphy, possibly even 2, and be interesting to see what Williams does here, whether he decides to get a move on and get on by, whether he just decides to sit in behind Matt Dunphy. It wouldn't be a bad thing for him to get on by, as Yeeman has had a big moment, and I'd say he's found the barrier just like Dalton Ellery and Kobe Williams.
Yeeman by name. Is it going to be Yeatman by nature? This is into turn 1 with a lot of speed, out a little bit wide on the curb. Turn 2 wide on the curb, on the grass. And that's not a Dalton Ellery, that's more of a Kobe Williams. If that's how we're going to categorize the incidents. Unfortunate from him there, but it just shows hot track, tires wearing down. There is a limit of grip through turns 1 and 2, and if you try to keep it flat, that bravery is not being rewarded. Jeff Connell, 8th. He's starting to come at Brady Carr. I imagine Connell might have better tires than Carr, who I swear I saw squirming and squiggling around everywhere that involved a traction zone.
Yeah, certainly starting to close down on Brady Carr and that McLaren, but the McLaren going to be able to use that straight line speed that it's got to its advantage, but the BMW going to have a nice amount of cornering speed. You can see the difference in cornering speed as well from the BMW, which just gets a little bit closer through the old turn 1 as they come on through towards Maggots and Beckett. So you can see BMW still just slowly closing in ever so slightly every single corner.
And all things being equal, we know Jeff Connell, a very rapid driver. He was on course for a podium here before speeding on pit lane a little bit, but we know very quick, and that's certainly helping them catch Brady Carr as well. They're going to get a great treatment as Daniel Yeeman stays out of the way for them. A bit wide of the apex for Carr. Jeff Connell is being very precise. He's only going to have 2 more laps if he wants to continue this recovery drive for 7th place. He's getting an even better look at the McLaren now.
He's all over the back of Brady Carr now. Is it Jeff Connell? And he's going to be able to make a move within the next lap or so. There's only going to be about 2 or so laps to go this time around, so he doesn't have long left to get the move done, but still a very long lap as he runs nearly a little bit wide on the exit of turn number 1, but you can see he's rapidly closing that gap down.
Yeah, he certainly is. Especially look at that diving into the slower corners there. Daniel Yeeman has got the repairs done. His 3rd trip onto pit lane Been a few repeat customers for the new pit building down the long straight here at the Wellington Straight. Well, Jeff Connell was closing, but Dalton Ellery is in a little spot of bother. Whoa, I mean, look at how much earlier seems Brady Carr seems to need to get on the brakes. He's great. He's decent putting the power down there. He seems decent through the medium speed corners, but just slowing down into slow corners, it seems like Connell just has a much better touch on the brake pedal. What about through Cops? Well, not an overtaking spot for Connell, who runs a bit wide. He is monstering Carr now, and he's going to be looking... Just look at the speed on the way into Beckett's there for Connell. Just so much more confidence on the brakes initially.
Yeah, he's almost running into the back of him, actually, is Jeff Connell. So we have to be careful not to run into the back of the flamethrower, but he's tucked up in the draft at the moment is Jeff Connell. He's not quite going to be able to get close enough to make a move, but he's certainly managed to close that gap down in the, or under brakes and in the twisty sections of the lap. So you'll need to get a move on because the white flag is in the air this time around.
Yep, your leader, Job Stewart, has already taken it. Comfortable 13 seconds for him in the lead. Hugo Allen sort of stabilised the gap between him and Matt Lupino. Means that this is the best battle inside the top 10. Jeff Connell's been hunting and closing down on Brady Carr, and looks like if he can just get alongside, he'll definitely be able to outbrake the McLaren. He's just struggling to do that, get alongside into any of these braking zones.
There's certainly going to be a few braking zones from here until they get to Maggots and Beckett, so you want to try and use that to his advantage. He's gotten very, very close to these few braking zones in this middle part of the lap, so if he can get ever so slightly closer, he might just be able to send one up the inside and get the move done. Looking very close and up the inside that time by, not close enough to get a move, but he's looking very, very racy at the moment. Is Jeff Connell. He's trying his best, everything he can, throwing everything and the kitchen sink at it to see if he can get a move done, but he just can't quite do it at the moment.
Connell definitely faster, but if Carr can just park it in the right places, I'm not sure Connell's going to be able to get by, because this is the last lap. Cops. Connell needs to maybe not get close through Maggots and Beckett's. Back it up a little bit to ensure he gets a good exit. But Job Stewart is going to get a good exit out of the final corner to take the checkered flag and convert pole position into a win for race 2 of this round at Silverstone. Hugo Allen is going to delight his supporters and get second place. Matt Lupino, a pretty good bet for third, but Carr blocking for all his life. Jeff Connell's got a huge run at him. The door slammed shut. Brady Carr to the inside. Connell, is he going to have to try and switch back around? They've got lap down car, Kobe Williams, going to stay out of this one, but I think that was the best bet for Connell. He's going to try to dive at the final braking zone of the lap here, but once again, Carr parks it precisely where he needed with that McLaren, punches off towards the checkered flag, and somehow, for a couple laps there, kept Jeff Connell behind. And I don't think Connell is happy with his race at all. Emerson Harvey also does not have a whole lot to celebrate. Pit lane penalty for him means that he only finishes 9th. But Job Stewart, I'd say from the body language of that BMW, looks a little bit more thrilled, Cam.
Yeah, he certainly does. It look quite thrilled with the fact that he's trying to do some donuts on the grass, or some burnouts at least, but nevertheless a very, very solid race from the leaders.
And that leader is Job Stewart by 14 seconds. He grabs the win at Silverstone for race 2, this round of Carbon Gaming GT3 E-Series. Hugo Allen gets his Mercedes on the podium to mix it up amongst the BMWs, because Matt Lupino is your 3rd place finisher. And then you've got to look a little bit further down the road before you found Jackson Rehana, who can probably be happy with 4th place. That is a good haul of points, keeping Sebastian Flock at bay in 5th, who also kept Matt Dunphy at bay for 6th. And then that great battle on the final lap where Brady Carr finishes 7th ahead of Jeff Connell in 8th. Emerson Harvey in 9th, Dalton Ellery in 10th, exactly a minute behind.
We go over the page 2. Dale Braid and Aaron Shields in 11th and 12th, 13th and 14th to Jack Henderson and Ben Blaise. And actually, Barrett Clinton actually getting him on the last lap, actually. So Ben Blaise falling down to 15th in the end. Stephen Nowey, the first car, a lap down, followed by Kobe Williams, Daniel Yeaman, Eden Watson, and William Yarwood, rounding out the top 20.
Yep. Over the page, it's Julian Andrews Church, and we rode the highs and lows of his race, and unfortunately I think there were more lows than highs. He finishes 21st, 2 laps off the lead and 3 pit stops. Brad Hayes in 22nd, also 2 laps down, with Stuart Lucas in 23rd for company. It's Trent Aquilina, who was the ramp to one of Julian Andrews Church's stunts. 3 laps down, 24th. Aaron Smith, 25th. Cam McDougall, I think a retirement there in 26th. Reese Cohen didn't take the start in 27th. That was race 2 of this round. I think we'll go bottom to top to mix it up this time, Cam. So I'm going to find the 3rd place finisher, Matt Lupino, on the podium here. 3 positions gained. Surely you got to be happy with that.
Yeah, of course, it's always good to move forward. I don't know what happened with a couple of the boys. They got some, I don't know, maybe speeding penalties or something, but I got them in the pits. So it was a pretty boring race, to be fair. I didn't really do much.
Did seem like you spent a good part of the second half of the race putting around in 3rd place there. Just couldn't find the speed to catch Hugo Allen in 2nd.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, the very close times, and unless he makes mistakes or gets a slowdown, it's very hard. I don't think I did enough laps compared to Donington, so yeah. Anyways, we're here.
Yeah, Donington and Silverstone, tracks with some different character, but we also had some different weather between them. How did you find the hot track and the tyres for Silverstone?
It was definitely noticeable. The tyres wore out a lot more at Silverstone, but I guess it was the same for everyone. So yeah, taking tyres wasn't an option, I don't think, not in that distance.
Well done. 3rd place for yourself, Matt Lupino. Anyone you want to thank?
Just the BPR boys, I guess, again. And that's it. Cheers.
Succinct and sweet to the point. That was our 3rd place finisher, Matt Lupino. We'll go 1 step up the podium because Cam Dance is going to have a word with, dare I say, fan favourite Hugo Allen.
Yes, certainly. It was a very, very solid second race for you, Hugo, and probably your best result of the season so far.
Obviously things didn't really go my way in the first race. Sort of bottled the quali lap and then just had a mess of a race. The quali lap for Silverstone was quite good. Felt alright, but the timing, I've done in practice, I was doing a bit quicker than that, but that was fine. I got a pretty good start, got up to 4th after a couple of laps, so be happy with that. And then things sort of just fell my way. I think Jeff and Emerson had a few issues, so up to 2nd. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, certainly was a pretty reasonable second race for you. Now, just obviously 2 very different tracks, with it being at Silverstone a lot more wider and flowing versus Donington, which was tight and technical. Did you find the Mercedes suited one of the tracks better than the other, or was it sort of a bit even between the 2 of them?
Well, in practice, I was sort of thinking that it would sort of be better at Donington. I don't think the Merc likes the high-speed corners that much. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think it favoured either track. I think quite sort of even on pace in comparison to the other cars.
Well, and obviously, with it being quite a hot race in the second race at Silverstone, was there any sort of struggles with tyre wear at all, or were you looking after your tyres quite well compared to everybody around you?
I think Matt's tyres may have fallen away at the end of the race, but yeah, the Max tyres throughout the whole race, they felt pretty consistent. I think Matt was catching me quite quickly throughout the whole race, and then we sort of leveled out on pace towards the end of the race. So yeah,
before we let you go, just any thanks and any shout outs you want to give?
Yeah, cheers to all the boys for the support. I mean, it's been pretty cool to have. I think my mate John was watching last week or a couple of weeks ago at Detroit. I had a couple of boys from school watching, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, no one else really. Oh, cheers to Dalton and them for setting up the league as well, and you guys for commentating.
Well, there you have it, David. Your second place finisher, Hugo Allen. Pretty happy with that result, and I believe you are standing by it with our race winner.
Yep, indeed I am. We go from third on the podium to second on the podium to your winner at Silverstone, Job Stewart. And Job, fair to say you've had the qualifying pace absolutely locked down. How does it feel to be able to convert that into a win?
Yeah, it's good to finally win a round. I've made a few mistakes throughout the season, but yeah, good to finally get a win.
Certainly some ups and downs across the different races, and I don't think your results and points finishes have quite matched where the speed has been in the car. What was it about Silverstone that made it easier or more fortuitous for you to grab a bag of points and a big W?
I like the track, which is a start, but yeah, just try to be a bit more cautious this time, and it paid off.
Balance of performance can be a dirty word in GT3, but 25 kilograms on the BMW, minus 1% power, taking about 5 horsepower off it, and still you win by 14 seconds. What do you think it's going to look like next round?
I'm not sure. They might. There's a lot of people in the BMW, so it probably doesn't really give you a fair chance of which car's good. But yeah, they might put some more weight on the BMW or take some power off.
We didn't speak to you after Donington. You went from pole to 10th. What was the feelings there earlier this round?
Yeah. After that race, I just knew I had to focus better for Silverstone. But yeah, I just dropped the wheel on early in the race, and yeah, just the car went straight around.
Well, you made good on that, I think, in race 2 of the round here. Didn't look like you were in the top 10 for the points despite the speed. What's the aims for the remaining rounds of the championship?
Yeah, I don't think I'm in it for the championship at all, so I'll just try and do as best as I can and go all out and try and get some more wins.
Just get out there and stop the other guys from getting too many podiums, too many trophies. Is that the plan?
Yeah, that's the plan. Hopefully we can do it.
Well, I wish you the best. I hope you can keep that BMW working for you. Any shout outs and thanks while you're here with us on SimSpeed TV?
Yeah, just thanks to Bandit Performance Racing for all the hard work all season, and cheers to Shoot Sim Racing as well.
Again, short and sweet from some of our podium place finishers, but that is fantastic to hear from our race winner, Job Stewart, who manages to, on the second time of asking this round, convert pole position into a win. Cam, bit of fuel strategy across both races, but plenty of great door-to-door action. It's kind of what we've expected out of these races in this Carbon Gaming GT3 ESeries now.
Yes, certainly. It's been some really, really good racing, and yeah, can't wait for next week to see what's going to happen and what's going to happen with that bop.
Yeah, certainly a lot of talent in the BMWs. Maybe it's not all just in the machinery as well. Thank you so much for joining us here on SimSpeed TV. Really, really enjoyed this racing, and we're back again in a week's time when Carbon Gaming GT3 ESeries continues. Points battle might just heat up a little bit. Jay Kennedy has been our producer tonight. It's been Cam Dance alongside me. And once again, I've been David Haynes. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you again in a week.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson.
close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh, no. That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh, my God.
God, what?